Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. I'm going to call to order the Charter Revision Commission regular meeting for January 7th, 2025. Please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, agenda item 3, quick chairman update tonight. You'll notice we got a couple more inputs from department heads, which is really good. A couple days before the new year, walked around town hall and talked to a couple department heads and said, "Boy, we really want your inputs." And then I think I forwarded a note to you guys that I sent to all the department heads one more time requesting some more information. So that's continuing to come, and that's good news. The first selectman's newsletter, I'm still trying to get traction on what the drop dead dates are for the inputs. It's totally on me. I have to work with the lady whose name escapes me, might say Lisa. But I'm working on that, and that's going to happen. I still think it's important for us to be in every one of the first selectmen's newsletters. And last thing, so I'm passing out a piece of paper. I apologize, this didn't go in your backup because I got this about an hour ago. I went upstairs and was in the first selectman's office, and I said, "Hey, by the way, guys, we have an org chart." Now, this org chart is from the 2024 budget book. It is the I asked for an updated, an electronic copy, which I'll send to all you guys. And there are a couple things missing on here. For example, the COO is not on here, right? But I thought this was better than nothing. And then we can expand this out a little bit to talk about where the commissions are, because I have to tell you, I spoke to Department of Public Works Director about what commission reports to him and what one doesn't, and it's very, very confusing. So just got that. So like I said, sorry for paper tonight. I will I'll add it to the backup for next time so you guys have it. Because I know we had talked about an org chart before and we had nothing. So, and everyone online, again, I will send it out electronically as soon as I get that copy. Thank you. Agenda item 4, here consider and approve the draft minutes of December 3rd. If you have the backup. These December 3rd meeting minutes were resubmitted after some inputs were given to Prue. Is there any comments on this?
Yeah, I was supposed to send Prue language to change and I didn't do that, so I have a bunch.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sorry to, we have to probably consider it again, but what do you suggest?
Yes, Prue?
You can go through your edits
Mm-hmm.
and then you can approve the minutes as amended, and then you can give me those edits and I will change them and send them.
I'm happy to do it.
I'm fine listening to and improving verbally.
Okay.
Is everyone, are the other commissioners okay with that? Okay, great.
So in
Yes.
item 9, I just wanted to insert that for the provision about requirement of public notice in newspapers, that Commissioner Treshuk, am I saying that right?
Yes.
Suggested that the commission consider language quoted in the report of the intern to the first selectman who reviewed other towns' provisions and had appropriate language.
Okay.
In the ethics section, I had quite a bit of changes. In the first paragraph, it's the town's ethics policy rather than code. And then the language that says mostly regarding fraud and standards of conduct should come out. Other things are not too.
That's an addition, you're saying?
Yeah, in addition, where I would suggest.
So you would add that we discussed removing that section and it is not
No,
referred
I
to in
would
the notes?
No, I would take that language out because the ethics policy relates to more things than fraud and standards of conduct, so.
Oh,
no
understand.
reason,
Got it. I understand. Okay.
And then in the first bullet point, I would say it was agreed that appointment to the Ethics Commission should require a majority, not unanimous vote of the BOS, because I think we did vote on that, or at least agree on that.
Yeah, this just says we talked about it, but I think we did make a sensitive value to
I think so.
not to make it a majority, not a unanimous vote. So I would agree with that, yes.
Okay, and then I would take the last sentence out because that just says there was discussion.
Right,
Okay.
agree.
The next bullet point, I would add Chairman DeWitt stated that term limits, et cetera, because we weren't really discussing term limits.
Mhm.
But it's worth including that, so I would just say you mentioned it. The third bullet point, says, in the second sentence, said the charter references a code in standards of conduct. But there is no code of ethics for the town. There is a standards of conduct, but there is no code of ethics.
No ethics code, right, today.
Right,
Yeah, it says standard of conduct twice, which makes no
Right,
sense, right?
right. And then there is an ethics policy rather than code that has just been adopted for employees. The next sentence, the RTM will hear an ethics ordinance for elected officials and boards. And then the next sentence, there is a discussion about enforcement of ethics rules on employees and unions. I know this is a lot, but many towns submit annual ethics reports to their town bodies. We could take out annually because it already says annual.
Mhm.
And then the 2022 draft charter revision, in that second to last sentence, it should say draft charter revision.
Yep, correct.
I didn't understand the last bullet point, there is an ability to appeal action. I think we didn't know if there was, or I don't know.
Yeah, Commissioner Biagini, yeah, it's funny you say that, because I was looking at this today too. Do you remember what
I
this?
do, and actually, I believe our attorney has commented on that. He was at the meeting, the question was raised. And I'm not sure, I'm looking at the backup if it's in his follow-up notes, but we
I
had
was just gonna
deferred-
say it should be in here, yeah?
Yeah, I'm looking right now, we had deferred to him. And I'm not seeing it in the backup note that he sent.
I think he said at the meeting that there is no ability to appeal.
That's what I thought, Karen, but I hoped he would have memorialized that for us.
Email was December 11th,
Mhm.
and he confirmed that there was no ability to repeal or
Okay,
appeal.
Thank you, Eric.
thanks, Sarah. So
Can I just say one quick thing?
Mhm.
I don't get emails and stuff, I just take these minutes from either these meetings or the recordings.
Right,
Right.
So anything that's referenced here should really be what's in the meeting.
right. So maybe we just take that sentence out,
I thought he said it in the meeting though.
but not in this meeting,
No,
this is the December
we-
3rd.
We discussed it, but then we said we had to go ask the attorney.
Which was the December
Whether
17th.
it was
meeting,
allowed.
right,
Exactly.
So we could say, we asked whether there is an ability to appeal,
The commission requested or he requested the attorney to come to the next meeting, yeah, wherever, yeah.
Alright,
I'm sharing on the screen if that helps anyone too, so.
and I just sent this to Jane and I would have wanted her to look at it, so Jane, definitely correct me if I'm getting any of this wrong. And then we talked about this at the last meeting, the italicized part where we said you made a motion to approve those suggestions, we should
Right.
probably have them written out, the suggestions that Jane made about the specific changes,
Mhm.
because this doesn't really include that, so. Yeah,
The actual motion.
right, actual motion, so I don't have that in front of me, so we may have to get that to you, I guess, the actual motion that we had was to approve.
To
certain
approve the
language
suggestions, yeah.
changes.
So, Commissioner Biagini, can you forward your actual recommendations to Prue to be added in the meeting notice?
Sure.
I mean, to be fair, I think in the discussion, in the end, the motion was that based on the discussion, it was more of a sense that we all agree, as opposed, I don't think we restated specifically every single little. thing.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, I was just thinking that too, because we definitely can't put every word we're changing in Prue's notes, so,
Maybe we leave it like this and then.
yeah, I think, you know what, maybe we do leave it that way, and
I
then just
think we
understand.
should, otherwise we're gonna have to incorporate the spreadsheet that we referenced as we were having the conversation.
Right.
That's
Right. I think it's enough if the notes say, we agreed there's a change to section 10.1.5, and then maybe when we're in final review and 10.1.5 has been changed,
Mhm.
we can then,
In the 12/17 meeting, you had up on the screen the Google document, so I was able to put in the minutes, the number that it was on
Oh,
the
okay.
Google document and the change that was made.
Okay.
So this one I didn't, they.
We didn't have the benefit of
there
that,
wasn't
yeah, right.
anything, and I don't think I had access to the Google document at that point.
Okay.
Mm,
No problem.
Okay.
Is that it? Commissioner Wagner?
Just to, the town seal was discussed, and I would just say the last sentence should say, it's been recommended that the charter require any proposed change to the seal be approved by the RTM.
Okay.
Because it doesn't state that any proposed change should go to the RTM.
Right.
And that's a lot, but you captured it.
That's fine. Yes, I'll make a motion to incorporate into the next revision of these meeting minutes, the comments made by Commissioner Wackerman. Okay. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor of including the changes by Commissioner Wackerman, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Having included those comments, are there any more comments on the overall document? The overall meeting minutes of not September, December 3rd.
But just back to this, what's this from again? I get to write it down.
The budget book. The year
124.
Fiscal year 25. Yes, fiscal year 25 budget book, yes. Okay, no other comments heard. All in favor of approving the December 3rd meeting minutes as modified, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much. Next, oh boy, this stupid thing. It like goes right over the top of all the stuff you need here. Agenda item 5 is to hear, consider and approve the draft minutes of December 17th. Those are up on the screen.
To approve the minutes of December 17th meeting.
I'll second that. Any other discussion on the meeting minutes for December 17th? Nice job, Prue. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Nice job, okay. Great. Okay, agenda, we're cruising right through here as an agenda item 6, nomination and election of secretary. So, as I spoke about in our last meeting, to relieve.
Sorry, can I ask one question just on the minutes, not about changing them?
Okay.
Prue, when you're gonna reference, are you referencing the row numbers in the spreadsheet? Is that,
Yes, the numbers that are on the Google document, because I don't have the actual
Right.
charter.
so the actual, so the row numbers?
Mhm.
Okay. Because what they'll change, and so what
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
do is
yeah.
we'll add in a column with
Oh,
numbers that
okay.
won't change or some kind of reference,
So it's just a one, right, yeah, right.
Yeah, so I'll take that follow-up then, just so we have that.
Good,
that done.
good point, because at some point in some later point, we're gonna say, wait a minute, that's not line 13. No, it's now line 14 or 15 or 8. Okay, nomination and election of secretary, to relieve, Jen Carpenter of some of the duties that are, that she's, saddled with throughout the town. Selectman Gerber asked me if we would take on some, additional responsibilities. And, in your backup, you'll see, some responsibility on page, let's see, this is page 8 of the backup. Commissioner Biagini and Jen Carpenter went through and made very specific reference to, you know, what's the chair gonna do, what's the vice chair gonna do, and what's this person whoever's gonna be the secretary is gonna do. We've all looked at it, and I think it's fair. Basically, I know what I have to do with managing the agendas and getting those to Betsy Brown, make sure everything's put up on the website, and again, Commissioner Biagini has the vice chairman stuff down, and she's been doing an amazing job of keeping us in line. So, the secretary's duties are basically review the draft minutes, to email the draft minutes, and to, let's see, make changes, if there are any amendments to minutes. And I dare say that this person who I can't imagine who this could possibly be, might manage the Google document. Just saying, that might be a task that we ask of the secretary. So, do we have any nominations for secretary?
I nominate Eric as a.
I second that nomination.
What a surprise! Is there any discussion?
One point that I did raise to the
Yes.
chair and the
Yep.
vice chair. I'm heading out on vacation early Thursday morning for 8 days, so I would request the duties start on the 22nd.
And Commissioner Biagini and I have decided that we can take on your responsibilities till the end of this month. So, any further discussion? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Anybody online? I don't see anything. All in favor of Commissioner Treshik being our new secretary, say aye. Aye.
Aye,
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
congratulations.
Choice, but we appreciate it.
In a second.
And if I may, a moment of personal preference, thank you for everything you've done. The Google Sheet is amazing. I don't know how I would be managing this whole meeting without that Google Sheet. And frankly, without the data that your son did as the intern. So the Treshik family has supported this process very well so far. So thank you, personal thank you. Okay.
Are there any other family members we could get?
Yeah, right. Does your wife need something to do part-time? Any other
I've actually talked
kids?
to Mary some about some conservation stuff in the past, so.
Excellent. So we're recruiting, right? Okay, excellent. Agenda item 7, discussion of previous topics if required. The only thing that I have is I've spoken to Chairperson Charlton, who is the chairperson of the Board of Finance. And I know we had a little bit of a discussion about the I'm drawing a blank, the capital process, right? And in her recommendation, she made reference to voting on the capital plan, right? So we spoke and she said, okay, so what her recommendation was that first off, there be a capital plan and that the capital plan would be memorialized into the charter, which we all did agree with last time. So there'll be something in here we'll memorialize. But there's really two things. There's I think it should be at least a 10-year plan that is, that does not have to be voted on by all the bodies. This is her recommendation, right? So I'm just speaking on her behalf for 1 second. But every year, there's a capital budget. So when we go into fiscal year 26, which is gonna happen, that goes into effect July of 2025, there will be a there'll be a capital plan in place that will be voted upon by all the bodies. So those are her 2 points. So the voting is on the 1-year plan and the actual documentation of the longer, long-term plan is just a single document. So I know we were a little confused about that. And so that was the clarification. I don't think I have, and then I guess the only other thing, I did speak to the town clerk real quick. And we were talking about the 10 meeting requirement, so Betsy had asked, let me see if I can pull it up here just really, really quick. Yeah, right here. Where is the 10 meeting? One of her recommendations under 8 is the elimination of the requirement to at least 10 regular stated meetings. the discussion we had all had as a commission was that, is there any state statute that controls that? The answer is no. Attorney Bucksbaum cleared that up. And I said to Betsy, I'm like, so why are you taking this out? She goes, why are we making people meet? There are some boards, not boards, but probably commissions that meet quarterly that don't meet this requirement ever. And in the course of business, they do all their business in 4 times a year. So she just felt that there was no real reason to force boards to, in theory, the charter is forcing them to meet 10 times a year. She said there are a couple of commissions that meet just to say, get in a room and say, hey, meeting, anything new? No, we're all cool, and just so they can meet this. Trying to streamline that. So I just wanted to bring that up because I know that was a point of discussion. I did not have any other past, I don't want to go backwards here too much, right? Anyone have any other discussions about previous topics they want to bring up? Excellent.
Well, I still have questions about Lori's comments. So are you gonna invite her to a meeting?
Well, so I was not planning on it, but what are your,
Well, she asked about, is it to be a 5 or a 10-year plan?
You can't hear her and it's supposed to be a public meeting, you're supposed to be able to hear everybody. Can you
Sorry?
ask her to speak up?
oh, Mary, can you speak up, please?
Yes.
Oh, you were asking about the 5-year, yeah, she confirmed 10-year plan.
Oh, okay, because I read in something that someone had sent as a reference that they recommended 5 years, so just checking.
5-year plan, it's funny because Commissioner Blanco and I during the meeting were like, 5-year plan is like tomorrow. In fact, I think it should be longer than a 10-year plan. And it frankly will be whatever we want to memorialize in the charter. We could call it a 20-year plan.
Probably what we agreed in the discussion was using the 2022 language or 3B5, but change it to 10 years instead of the 5 years that they had referenced in
Okay.
2022. And then the follow-up on the approval process, which Chris just spoke to.
Right. And I know the other comment that you sent me was about the term, the length of did you just talk about 6 years? Because Lori did make a comment there about she supports keeping the 6-year.
Yeah,
We have not discussed that as a board commission yet, but
all right, so that's what I'm asking, are we gonna, because I'm sure there's maybe other things that people.
Well, point of clarification for her input, those are all captured in the specific sections. For example, like the 6-year, her comments on the 6-year terms, that's captured under the term section.
So I'll just wait.
So all of those are captured, Mary. But they definitely take a look to make sure I didn't miss anything. But they are all captured in the spreadsheet in the right grouping.
perfect. Okay, agenda item 8, CRC attorney or town attorney inputs. There is none requested, so we'll move past that. Now we'll move on to our first discussion tonight on CRC topic terms. Now, just to throw it out to the commission here real quick. We're gonna talk about terms, checks and balances and senior employees. Terms is definitely gonna be the most onerous of those 3 topics. Would anyone like to start a little slower and start with senior employees, because I think that's probably okay. So if everyone's okay, I would start with the agenda item 11 instead, which is discussion on CRC topic category of seniors. That is displayed. Thank you. Wow. Do you have the internal benchmarking?
I do, so what's 16 and 17?
You want to share that, or yeah,
Okay, that's right, I'm not sharing. Okay.
I can stop sharing.
So
So both of the comments from the on senior employees category had come from the intern benchmarking. So we don't have any specific taxpayer or department head comments on this topic.
I'll just to throw it out there, I would think removal shouldn't have to require cause, because there could be reasons that don't quite rise to the level of cause that a first selectman wants to remove
Okay.
a manager. just for discussion purposes.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure I understand what we're talking about here. What is, so, where I struggle a little bit with the benchmarking is there's things that are being benchmarked that aren't in the charter. So as far as I know, there's nothing in the charter that specifically talks about this one topic. Is that correct?
You said it's unclear, right?
Right, I think that is that's the why it was in here, because I think it was the point it was unclear, but the first selectman did not specifically request this change. In the input.
Right. No, but as far as the intern's comments,
Mhm.
it's the fact that it's not clear could mean that it should be included in the charter, but right now, there's nothing, we couldn't pick up the current charter and say, it says this today, because there's nothing, as far as I could tell, there's nothing in the current charter. So if anything we would be talking about here would be, for all intent and purpose, an addition.
I think so.
Okay. So,
Well, I think the point is, now I have not gone back and referenced the charter areas, but I guess some can be removed without cause. Other, it's not stated.
That's right.
And so is there a desire to note that really any senior staff can be removed without cause? Any appointed, I guess.
I guess, why would we limit that just to senior staff and staff? Like terminations for cause or terminations for cause, regardless of your seniority.
I think a lot of the staff that's not senior staff is union, so there's contracts that apply to many of them. That's my guess, that's why we're talking about seniors. It's tricky because it also gives the first selectman the ability to remove people for political reasons, I guess.
if so, as
If it's.
So right now, I just wanna track back to the charter. Right now, in theory, the new first select person who gets voted in 2 years or whatever it is, could just come in and say, all right, get rid of all you because I don't like you. And that doesn't have to have cause.
I think so, my recollection and also the intern's report said the CFO is kind of less clear whether that has to be for cause or not, and that came up recently, I think.
I'm having a little trouble reading this, but, however, let's see. Currently, some senior staff, I have to tell you, I saw senior employees and I thought it meant over.
I did too.
60, and I'm like, why are we talking about senior employees, but now that you say senior staff, so currently some senior staff, for example, the town attorney can be removed by the first select person without cause. However, for other positions like the chief fiscal officer, the charter is unclear on whether their removal.
So I guess the point is, so in 9.3, town attorney A, the current, the real 2006 charter,
Right.
the last sentence of appointments and qualifications says, the town attorney may be removed by the first selectman without cause. So the point there is that statement is only limited to some roles and not to others. Is
Oh,
that by the omission?
Got it.
In other roles, does that mean it cannot be removed without cause? Double negative.
okay, I'm tracking now. If you say it for one role, you either have to make a blanket statement that this is for every role, or you have to put it under each role that you can,
Right.
got it,
And
okay.
that the assistant town attorney is the same thing, they can be removed,
Mhm.
but then to the point of the benchmarking, fiscal officer and controller does not say that.
That's under C,
9.5 is fiscal officer.
oh, sorry. No, the town attorney is where?
Oh, 9.3A. Oh, sorry, article.
Yep, no, I'm there.
9.3A, yeah.
Town attorney may be removed by the first selectman without cause. Well, the assistant town
Isn't the
attorney,
town attorney considered a political appointment anyway?
Yeah,
Yes.
it'd be nice to change that.
well, I'm gonna go back to the charter. There's no words in the charter that say political appointment, right? Now, if that's the way we've acted for the last 300 years, then that's, best practice, if you will, right?
Well, no.
Or not best practice, but
Yeah.
standard, you know what I mean, right?
Some towns have staff attorneys like Bridgeport does,
Right.
and at some point we may reach the point where we should do that.
So assistant town attorneys says that, very funny, the first selectman may then appoint the assistant town attorney and may remove the town attorney, this is town attorney.
Because I wouldn't consider the town attorney an employee. I would consider them more of an independent contractor, whereas the chief fiscal officer is actually working for the town of Fairfield. Town attorney's working for a law firm that bills the town of Fairfield. I think we're talking about two different animals here.
I think what, well, listen, under the current charter, under 9.1, there is a list, and I quote, "There shall be the following appointed town officers as necessary." And there's town attorney, fiscal officer, controller. As far, now that I'm tracking here, I don't understand why each one of these, either one sentence that says the, all of these people can be removed by the first selectman without cause, or does, if it says it in one, then each one of these things that is further broken out here should have that statement. So like, just for, so director of,
That's, the director of public works is a good example, because
Right.
some have, you can be removed without cause, other ones have a defined term. And then there are some, like the director of public works, that doesn't have the statement about removal without cause, but also doesn't have a defined term. So in theory, when does that person leave?
director of public works doesn't have a term as far as I can tell. Huh?
Yeah, there's no term nor the statement around.
Is the director of public works an appointed position?
It says, in the director of public works shall be appointed by the first selectman.
Yes, yeah.
See, it's funny how it's written, right? So the director of public works, the building official say things like they shall be appointed by the first selectman. And the town attorney says they may be removed. It's kind of the negative and positive, right? Yeah, I can recommend anybody I want, but I can remove that guy. But it's ambiguous. I think generically, every, again, just me talking, any town officer, as it's called under 9.1, should have some statement about how they can be removed or, and they're not all that way.
Or you could put it under the powers of the first selectman, right?
Exactly, or. put-
Point two.
That's probably a much better place to put it, right?
I agree.
The other
The
option.
first selectman shall have the power to appoint or remove a fiscal officer, a town attorney, and a department of, director of public works.
I think that's a much better way to do this.
Some of them, it looks like, are appointed by the Board of Selectmen.
Right, so this is a potential way to reconcile those comments, so section 9.2, officers appointed by the first selectman, has a statement, the first selectman shall appoint the town officers listed in items A through L in section 9.1. So you could just add
Oh, yep.
a statement that says those A through L can be removed without cause. And limit it to only those appointed by the first selectman.
Right.
Could be a way to do it.
And then in their individual sections, you just reference back to,
9.2 or whatever the new. Right.
yeah.
Yeah, we maybe have to get a legal read whether it needs to be redundant then in the like the town attorney,
Yeah.
or if you've already stated it in 9.2, does it need to be stated again in 9.3, 9.4, 9.5?
Yeah.
No, I don't think.
Yeah,
it needs
yeah.
to be done.
Yeah, it's funny you bring this up because I was looking through some term stuff today just to kind of get an idea for another discussion. And I had to go 3 different places to figure out what the terms of the Board of Finance were. I mean, I know where they are, but it's buried in like section 2.3. It's not under Board of Finance. It's very strange. So I feel like it's better to make a statement like that. It then may make it a lot more difficult to track how, you know. I guess it gets back to the thing, you wanna know everything that the charter talks about with the town attorney, should it all be written under 9 point, in this example, under that section, or should we make a, generic statement?
Just
I would
as
argue,
it comes to these appointed positions, this Jerry McHenry. As I read through them today, there's no consistency as to for cause, not for cause. But when you read the Director of Public Works, the Department of Public Works, they shall be appointed by the first selectman. So that tells you that every 4 years, that position has to be reappointed. So it kind of runs out on its own. And that's the way the language would work. So they're not removed, they're just reappointed. Does that make sense to anybody?
I think it does.
Yeah,
And so now if you start to work language differently, we're going into a morass of each one of these enumerated positions. I mean, I read this today and I'm like, there's no consistency here.
that's right.
So is there a method to the madness of no consistency that we don't know a historical basis for? But as you look at it, I don't have to remove you for cause or no cause. I just don't have to reappoint you. And I reappoint the person I want.
but that does limit them to start of the term, doesn't it?
Yes, I'm not questioning that. But there is a mechanism.
What do you mean by the start of the term?
The start of the first selectman's term. Because by Jerry's logic, that's the one time they could.
No, I don't think that's how it reads.
They could take 3 months to appoint one. I don't think it would make a difference.
Terminating,
Well,
we're
I-
talking about, right?
4 months, 6
Right,
months.
I guess 2 years in, if they just wasn't working.
Eventually it'll become a problem when you don't have a DPW director, but
you know,
We don't have a DPW director now.
Why would you need?
We have an
It's
interim,
probably a
we have an interim-
problem.
we have an interim director. No, I mean, but in theory, we don't, right?
Need a
I think Jerry's suggestion makes sense.
I think Jerry's
Usually, actually.
suggestion makes sense as well.
But so the specific point is, don't change anything, or what's the suggestion then, no, in the actual language?
I don't know that I have a suggestion. It's more of an observation. As you read through these things, some of them are self-executing mechanisms that are within their language. Others say I can remove the town attorney without cause. I can remove the town attorney without cause, or the language could be, I appoint a new town attorney. I'm not giving an answer. I'm just giving an observation. There's no consistency in this thing. Maybe we want to create a consistency. I don't
Well,
know.
I guess that's where I'm at, right? So let me go up one higher level, right?
Question.
Yeah.
So if you say shall appoint, that doesn't mean you have to. So if you don't appoint somebody, it's just keep going. You don't have to do it at the beginning of the.
Shall?
Shall is mandatory.
Shall is mandatory.
That was been
I
around.
wonder if they do.
May is not,
May is optional.
I wonder if they do reappoint everybody.
I don't-
Yeah.
I don't think I mean, I remember years ago when if there was a new first selectman or even if re-elected, everybody used to submit, their, if they, what's the word I'm looking for when you quit? Resignation, thank you very much. Would submit a resignation letter and then the first selectman would say, no, very ceremonially, no, you're gonna remain for another 4 years, you're on the team, right? I don't think they do that anymore, right? But
And just for another observation, I'm glad we took the easy topic first.
geez, I gotta tell you, I did not, sorry. I really thought this was about senior.
I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying.
No, I'm
None of
sorry.
this is easy. None
No.
of this is easy.
So I guess the question is this, do we think it's better to have one statement that is all encompassing? Or do we believe that we should have a statement under each of the appointed town officers?
I guess my other question related to that is, for the most part, this will be referred to electronically, correct?
The document?
The reason I ask
I
is.
would
because
assume so. I mean, I've
more
carried this thing for 20 years, so yeah, maybe.
Hyperlink than it would be to then say, okay, go back and see here, see here, versus if you said, okay, refer to 9.5 when you're on 11.3, you just click on the hyperlink. So it wouldn't be that hard if you had it all under the first lesson. Duties are blah, 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 blah.
It's a fair point. Yep.
That's why I ask.
And that's a lot of what the last charter revision commission did, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of just cross references.
There are a lot of, especially on terms, like I said, when I was looking at it today, they specifically said, hey, here's the terms, and if you wanna go see what the Board of Finance is all about, go to section 5.5. Yeah, right.
My other concern is listing it in two places means you have to remember to edit two places.
Mhm.
And I can guarantee you over time, that's not gonna happen.
Oh, no,
So that's why
I'm with you
it makes
100%.
sense To put it in one place
Yeah.
and.
So my only so I'll readdress the question maybe is, do we think that we either make one overarching statement for every official? Or do we want it to be under each individual town officer description, how they can be removed and or appointed?
I liked Eric's suggestion of putting it in 9.2 where it says the first selectman can appoint the people in A through L.
Shall, actually. just
Shall, right,
appoint,
shall, and may.
And may remove without cause.
With or without cause.
Yeah.
If we all agree, it should be without.
So
cause.
one place.
Right.
I think
Yeah,
so.
I agree.
Yeah.
Technically, then,
Yeah.
we would have to consider the same point for 9.14, officers appointed by the Board of Selectmen, which is officers M through P, I guess that means there's a Q through W.
Mhm.
So you could essentially have the same language, but it's the majority vote of the Board of Selectmen, I assume,
Right.
or maybe you could say unanimous.
Well, it's under anything under not, this 9.1 is a really big list. So if we leave the language that says the first select person shall appoint the town officers as shown, oh, wait a minute, A through L, I didn't see that.
Yeah, the A through L.
What about M through,
That's
so
what
you're
I'm
saying
saying.
9.14 is M, oh, sorry.
Yeah, so 9.14 is M through P, that's this Board of Selectmen. So if we wanted to have a statement around without cause,
Why wouldn't they just say? Oh, the Board of Selectmen, oh, sorry.
and then Q through W is 9.19, officers appointed by other bodies. Example being the Director of Health is appointed by the Board of Health.
Yep,
Yeah.
so. Okay, let me try this again. So it does appear as if, doesn't appear, it is in actuality. A through L is appointed by the first selectman. M through P is appointed by the Board of Selectmen, and it appears Q through W are appointed by either, the Fire Commission, the Board of Library Trustees. Right, okay. Got it.
Director?
Sorry?
Okay, so the planning directors.
That's what it says. The planning director is.
Learn something new every day.
Shall be appointed by the TP and Z Commission. Right. So I still think there's value in adding in 9.2, maybe you have to amend it a little bit. First selectman shall appoint A through L and can remove without cause A through W.
Ooh,
No,
I don't think so. I think if the Board of Selectmen can appoint certain positions, they should be the ones who can.
Oh, I guess that's a good point. So where do we,
Maybe
so where do we,
So nine,
where are we capturing without cause then?
Well, that would go 9.14. I mean, I think you have to put it in.
So each one of the individual statements, 9.2, 9.14, and whatever the other one, have to be,
Or you could add under 9, I don't know, maybe after 9.1, you could add something, the entity that appoints them has the ability to remove them without cause. You could add something like that in a single, if you really wanted. That might get
doesn't fit
confusing.
as well though. 'cause
No, I
that's-
agree. It
Yeah,
doesn't.
I think those individual places are better.
it's kind of clumsy how this is written, because I've looked at this thing, I don't know how many times, and I didn't really pick up on A through L. And then M through Q, it would be a little bit better if it was spoken out there, but I'm curious what the appointed officers appointed officers on here. Eligibility for town office. Appointed town officers, 41. Okay, let's see. Let's see if there was a creative way that. So the last commission, on page 41, if you have the document, basically said, here's the officers that are appointed by the first selectman, here's the officers that are appointed by the board, and here's the officer appointed by other bodies. They put it right in front, which I think is a much better way. And then Commissioner McCannon said, then they reference, by the way, if you want to talk about the town librarian, then go to 724. So I think for redlining purposes, page 41, the top of page 41, which is 7.1 ABC, would be well placed in the new revision. And I think probably would replace sections 9.1, 9.2, 9.14, and 9.19. So hold on, let me just write that down. 9.1, 9.2, 9.14, 9.19. Trying to make a motion here, so at some point by 7.1 ABC from 2022. Okay. The only, and then the only addition I think we would make to this, the 2022 section 7.1 ABC would be the words that we were trying to come up with terminate for cause. So I'll make a sensitive body vote anyway to replace current sections 9.1, 9.2, 9.14, and 9.19 with sections 7.1 A, B, C from the 2026. Sorry, this is 2026, 2025. 2022 Charter Revision Commission with the addition, with the additional language of being each individual body being able to terminate with cause. With or without cause, right?
So I have a question, because in the town code, they created the Solid Waste and Recycling Commission, and they appoint the Solid Waste and Recycling Director or whatever, which we don't actually have. We don't follow it.
Right.
But that's the code. So how do we have to, we just leave it alone? We just like they're just never shall the twain meet? I mean, how do?
Well, first off, there's a motion on the table. Someone wants a second, it's just, okay, thanks for our conversations. My personal preference about the code is we should be taking everything out of the code that talks about commissions and stuff like that and dragging it into the charter. That's what I think, that's what I'm saying.
In the charter.
It should be in the charter.
Oh.
For me, I've been thinking about this a lot in the last couple of weeks. I feel like the charter revision should be a bit of a reset for the town code. Now, there are some commissions or commissions that have been created because there was no other way to create them other than using the town code by the RTM. There are some in here, like I keep using shellfish, it says it was enacted in 1975. So why it's still in the town code, I don't know. And I think that would address your issues. Why we wouldn't have one body where we would go talk about every absolute commission that we know about today in the charter is beyond me.
Well, the reason why is that maybe there are some that realistically we don't want to build into forever existence.
So I guess that's a good point, right? So if we don't want to mandate it, right?
Then the RTM could change it by ordinance. which may be a good thing. I mean, that's not really the point here, but that is the discussion we'll have, and.
Yeah, we-
Right,
yeah,
right, right.
clearly some should be in, but should all of them be required permanently?
Well, to take that farther, we have a comment saying only charter what's statutorily required,
Mhm.
but everything in the code.
Yeah,
So
I
you can go to
thought,
that ex-
I think everything should go into the code because the code is forever evolving.
Yeah. I
So I
agree.
was, when I read that, I was thinking that actually makes more sense to me, because then you can go with the flow and whatever's needed. And if it's needed, you don't wanna change it. And
I
if
agree, and that,
you do wanna change it.
that
So
also goes back to our conversation about the standards of conduct that hopefully the RTM is gonna approve. We didn't want to embed the verbiage in the charter because we wanted it to evolve over time and not have to go back and reset the charter.
Mhm. Can I just suggest that maybe we should finish the motion that's on the table?
Yes,
And
okay.
we do keep going back to this. I
I
think
know.
we have to figure out, but.
Right.
Right, I will hold myself until we.
So my motion on the table is to replace
Yes.
9192, 914, 919 with the language and in the charter revision 2022 commission with the addition of the with or without cause. And there's a second on the table. Any other discussion? Okay. all in
Yeah,
favor?
discussion.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Jake.
We're putting in language that says with or without cause.
Mhm. Yes.
I mean, that's inconsistent with each other. I either remove you with cause, and I have cause to remove you, or I remove you without cause. If you put in a provision that says with or without cause, then you probably likely can't remove somebody without cause because you might have to remove them with cause.
That's good.
No, I don't think
Yeah.
so, no.
No?
It's, I mean, with or without cause, meaning you can remove them for any reason. At least this is a common thing I've seen.
Okay, I'm not an employment lawyer, so I don't stand as a lawyer giving this observation. I'm just listening to the language.
Some other charters say like, shall serve at the pleasure of the first selectman.
Correct. That's,
Basically means the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Basically does.
right.
I mean, to Jerry's point,
But without cause sounds kind of
the,
harsh.
but the way the current charter is written where it does talk about it, it only references without cause. In support of Jerry's point.
Which section?
Well, it's like in
The town attorney may be
Town
removed by the
attorney, yeah,
first
yeah.
selectman without cause.
I think that was called out just because a legal counselor is somebody that stands apart in the sense that there may be a reason why you would need to, and when we see this in a lot of local governments where midterm you just may decide to go in a different direction, you know,
Well, I was more just referring to the with or without comment, that it
Yeah.
only said without cause. It
I
didn't
can s-
reference with.
I'm sorry. I can see just saying without cause. Yeah, you don't have to say that. Even if there is cause, you don't have to say what it is, or you can, but it
Right.
doesn't matter.
Correct.
That's-
Without cause is pretty all encompassing, right?
That's true.
Mhm. That's fair, yeah.
it means you serve at the pleasure of the first selectman.
Mhm.
Either way. Or whomever, right?
Mhm, right.
Whatever
So-
board, depending on, or the board of selectmen, or the, depending on what category.
So for the,
shall have the power to appoint and remove.
right. So I guess, just to kind of put a bow around this, the way the charter's written today, on positions where it doesn't say that the town may be removed without cause, that means, like, the director of public works doesn't make that statement. So does the charter today, does this mean that he can't be removed?
That's the question.
Right, that's
Right.
the confusion.
It's unclear, right?
You can only be appointed.
Yeah.
He can only be appointed.
Or she.
Right.
Forever and ever, yeah.
So I think so we would just make an amendment to that motion to say without cause only, right? Not with-
Yeah, I'll amend my motion to say to 7.1 ABC and the statement without clause.
I agree with it. I think we may wanna ask the town attorney to review and make sure there's no reason why any individual position couldn't be subject to that. Like, is there like a contractual thing or a union thing? I don't know, but I support it. But we should probably just make sure we're not tripping over ourselves in any individual role.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, there is a contradiction on one of the roles, because somebody just told me about it the other day, where a fairly senior role is a union position.
Oh.
I actually thought I heard some people say certain things that we-
Oh.
I can't remember what it is right now.
So I guess non-union people can be removed without causes, I guess what we would say.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
So how about we just
Oh,
have the town attorney look at that?
so the controller is listed there, and she is. Well, let's vote on this motion, then we can have this is, listen, it's a sensitive body, so we're trying to move forward, and then we can get the town attorney to.
Interject into say non-union can be removed without cause. And then we've kind of covered that in the town attorney.
I mean, I'm fine with that.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll amend my motion a third time. to say
Actually, sorry.
everything we said before, but.
Wait, sorry.
Yeah.
It's possible that even a union contract might allow someone to be terminated without cause. It's unlikely, but we don't know what the contract would say.
Yeah,
So.
but I guess the point is that it's not up to the first selectman, board of selectmen, or other bodies in that case.
Or it's up to the
It would
contract.
have to be up to the contract who that person is employed.
Mm,
It would be outside, I guess a better way to say it's outside of those three conditions that we were just trying to
mhm.
impose the.
Alright, so. Then amended to say that if there is a contract, then based on that contract.
Yeah, yeah, that's good, because also there could be employment contracts with one of these senior people, so
Sure.
that's a good caveat.
So could be terminated without cause
If it does not
Or-
go with existing contracts.
or, or
Subject to any employment contracts.
subject to any employment contracts, right? I'll amend my motion, right?
And, well, then the lawyers can tell us. what-
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, are you a little confused?
can we do this motion one at a time, please?
Yeah, full motion.
My motion is to remove sections 9.1, 9.2, 9.14, and 9.19, and replace them with previous Charter Revision Commission from 2022 sections 7.1, A, B, and C, with the additional language of maybe terminated without cause or subject to contractual, what the last words?
Subject to, what's the?
Employment contract?
Yeah, I don't know, subject, we could say that for now and let the.
And subject to an employment contract. Would you like to second that again, Ms.
I'll second
Commissioner
that.
Wackerman?
Yeah, right. I second that.
Okay. Everyone online, we good with that? Commissioner Blanco, Commissioner McHenry,
Yes.
Yes.
any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, I'm glad the easy one's done. That wasn't too bad. I think that's a great discussion. Thank you very much.
That was a good discussion.
And it's a good example of where, the last commission, the language is perfect. I think this really, just grab that and drop it in and really, so. Okay, great.
Are we going to have the discussion about putting everything in the code as Jane had mentioned versus are we gonna table that for later?
Well, that is not on the agenda for tonight. We're going to have to have that discussion. Maybe we can make it for next meeting.
Okay.
That will be one whole night of discussing that. That will not be anything else, so. Okay, I'm gonna go to agenda item 9, which is discussion on the CRC topic of
Well, we
terms.
didn't actually finish senior employees. There was.
Oh, I thought we did.
No, there was the political activity was the second one raised.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's on the screen.
Political activity.
Benchmarking.
Whether senior administration, particularly those that can be removed with cause,
Oh, yeah.
them can be removed without cause, so we don't have to care about that anymore. Can and should be barred from active, oh,
I think that's not fair. What if they wanna be political in their own hometown? Like, that's, doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe in Fairfield, but. Or in Fairfield politics, but I don't know, it just seems inappropriate to say no to political activity.
The language that Trumbull had that was cited in here was good.
I think the challenge would be, how do you define be involved in politics? If you,
Yeah.
if you're gonna go down the slippery slope, then you're gonna slide all the way.
this is a tough one for me too, so does being a member of the Democratic Town Committee or the Republican Town Committee mean I'm politically active? There are department heads that are involved in both those organizations, I believe. So, yeah, this is a slippery slope, right?
Question, and maybe Jane, you're the best person to answer it, in the proposed ethics and standards of conduct. Is anything addressed in there related to inappropriate political activity?
But we just, not specifically political activity, but we do talk about activities outside of your job scope, more with reference to social media.
Votes for Ronald McDonald.
Kind of the last sentence that's on the screen here. With a different approach, Trumbull's Code of Ethics clearly states that officials are allowed to engage in political activism to the extent, to the fullest extent possible, without interfering with their duties.
I think that's what matters.
I think that's the,
Like that.
I think that's,
If it's not a conflict,
And no coercion, I think it says too,
and
right?
bars them
it
from
doesn't conflict with
coercing,
their
participating.
performance of their duties, then
Mhm.
let them enjoy their constitutional right.
Yeah.
I'm good with that statement. Where would, so this would have to be added somewhere if we want to make this claim or make this assertion, it would have to be added somewhere.
So the code of ethics, maybe.
Well, so that's a good point, Jane. You haven't put a bow on that code of ethics yet. Maybe we can sneak this in.
I'm not sure that's where it goes.
Okay.
But however, we are going to have a much narrower ethics section in the charter, because we're gonna reference back to the new
That's right,
standards.
yeah.
In that section in the charter, we could say something regarding, did that Trumbull statement. That would be potentially a natural place to put it.
So this isn't a direct quote, it just says, it's a sort of a.
Yeah, the summary of the Trumbull's.
This was a summary looking across different municipalities saying, hey, by the way, we don't have, Fairfield doesn't have any policy on this one thing. I was joking about pushing it into the code of ethics, but I have to tell you, I think that's really where it does belong.
Jean, why do you feel like it may not be the right place for it?
I just feel we didn't really want to address anything political in the standards of conduct. I just don't want to make a knee-jerk suggestion right now. I really want to go back and read the standards of conduct. I think we'd have to maybe augment this, because you have to be careful that you're also not, that you're very careful in saying you're not representing the town of Fairfield. There's a lot of other language if it's going to go in the standards of conduct, I think. Listen, I'm not completely opposed to it. I just want to take a step back and look at it.
And also take no action.
We could,
Yeah.
we could.
We
So,
should.
I'm not saying that it must go in there. I'm just saying if it is gonna go anywhere, I think that's where.
I agree with Commissioner McCann, if it's gonna go anywhere. And well, so I guess I'll turn that point around. If not there, then where?
I don't think it should go anywhere.
I don't necessarily disagree with that either.
That way
I
too.
agree with Gary.
I agree
I-
with Jerry. I agree with Jerry.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't have a strong opinion outside of that. I don't think we should restrict it,
Mhm.
but whether or not we need to affirmatively say it's not restricted, I don't have a strong opinion.
I think it would have to be like, so being involved in politics is not a bad thing. It's actually a great thing. It would have to be something that creates a problem
That's right.
for your position.
Right. Conflict. of
And I can't even
interest.
think of an example, but you're taking such a severe position or you're politicking for some sort of very controversial political candidate on some sort of platform that creates a problem. The public's trust in you, you know, some neo-Nazi candidate or something, or something
Yeah.
very controversial that would create a problem, and that would be your conduct. That would be
Right. Yeah.
reflective of your conduct.
And I read into the Trumbull statement that if I walk into work tomorrow and I decide I'm running for Congress and all I do at work for 8 hours is Chris for Congress, that would be really bad. But that would be just as bad as I was running a business on the side, right? So it's not really limited to politics. It could be limited to.
I think that's a really good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. It's almost analogous, that his side business
Right.
is no problem until it's a problem.
Exactly, right, exactly.
That's exactly right. So that's, my thought is, why do we need to call that out specifically?
Yeah.
So it's not currently in the charter.
It is not, no.
Yeah, then
We're voting no action.
Would like to make a sense of the body motion, I will, to not take any action on the political activity for senior staff employees.
Second that.
I think we've had enough discussion unless there's any more. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good discussion. Now, discussion on CRC topic category terms. This should be really easy.
Maybe some.
It could, I think a couple of these are, I think, yeah.
First is Board of Selectmen, right?
Yeah. So this was, and I can share my screen because I had called this document up. This is from Kathleen Griffin. This was a taxpayer's input that brought up this question, and the question is, revisit the length, the term lengths of the Board of Selectmen. Just for those that don't know, the Board of Selectmen used to be 2-year term. And in 2006, it says narrowly passed, I don't know how she quantified that, but it went from 2 years to a 4-year term. And then, as you can see, she has some comment that I would argue that the power, influence, and independence of the first selectman has since increased. That's her opinion. You know, I'll just give my personal opinion. No reason this should change from a 4-year term. I can't think of any good reason for that. And I'll tell you what, just for
So yeah,
continuity.
I agree with you, Chris. I mean, I think about it, you have a selectman person elected in their first year, and then the fourth quarter of their first year, they have to start thinking about reelection.
The budget.
Yeah, good point, Ms. Ewing. You get through one budget process. I mean, let me tell you something.
Right out
Yeah,
the day after you get elected, you have to start planning your budget.
that's a great point.
It's
Yeah,
Great.
you can't, there's no consistency there, right? Because you're getting reelected in the second year, and then what happens to that? So you're working for 9 months to see you get reelected in the next year?
Yeah.
Anything else done?
You're not gonna get anything, exactly, not gonna get anything else done.
we wanted to reduce the power of the first selectman, that's, we should do that. But I don't think that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
that's not.
Yeah, and so that's a great point.
Yeah, what power specifically, Eric, right?
Well, Ms. Griffin's no isn't, so much on the 2 versus 4 years. It's like, we give this person a 4-year term and they're much more powerful. I don't think that's a valid point. For me, and I'll make a motion again, on line number 83, revisiting the term of the Board of Selectmen from 4 to 2 years. I would make a sense of the body motion that is not something we should entertain. That we should, sorry, better to say it this way, I think the Board of Selectmen term should remain at 4 years. Agreed.
Yeah.
Second, just,
Second.
okay. Any further discussion?
Selectmen is also 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Board of Selectmen and Selectmen.
So, yeah,
Yep.
Yes.
they should stay the same.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Golf Commission, boy, this one, okay,
So it's, I can share, it's on the benchmark.
Thank you very much.
And
this is a benchmark comment. Oh, yes,
yes, and it really get more to the terms of office is really the. It's more about terms, basically, term limits in a lot of ways.
5 years.
Because the unique aspect of the Golf Commission seems to be that there's a longer waiting period after no member can be eligible for reappointment and for 5 years after the end of their term. And a term could include just a partial term of like a few months.
I wonder why that is. Like, is it such a popular commission that people?
Unless they have a scratch handicap, then they're automatically
see, that's what kept me off the Golf Commission all
automatically renewed.
That's why I could never do it.
Whoever got that driving range done should run for governor. That thing is,
It's beautiful,
that
isn't
thing
it?
is incredible.
That's gonna generate a lot of revenue. So the Golf Commissioner, let's just make sure that's it. Trying to see where the Golf Commission, as far as I can see, is first mentioned in 10.1 in the existing charter. There shall be the following permanent, so it is a permanent commission. Start with that. And sorry.
We need a hyperlink.
Yeah, it's section 10.18 of the existing. All commissions shall exist 7 members appointed by the Board of Selectmen. No more than 4 of whom shall be registered with the same political party. Each member shall have a term of 5 years. Commencing April 1st with the term staggered so that no more 2 terms. No member shall be eligible for reappointment for a period of 5 years. Wow.
That's the point. That's just really a long time,
Yeah.
I guess is the question.
So why not
5-year
change
term
that?
is long too, isn't it? It's longer than average.
It's longer than every term except for the Board of Finance.
Right.
I did-
Well, please hire Park and Rec, Board of Building Fields and Flood and Erosion Controller.
They're all 4 years, aren't they?
Historic District and Historic District, alternate, conservation and conservation alternates. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
on page, I had started numbering page 13,
Yeah,
very
and
early.
libraries on 6 years.
1.4,
10.4 you said?
1.4 has all the terms.
Oh, 1.4, huh?
Has all the terms.
I would argue though that there's the question on the actual number of years.
Oh, yeah.
But the bigger point is the ability to reappoint. And Chris, kind of goes back to your comment from a meeting or 2 ago, which
Where I'm
is,
going with this.
do we want to limit any terms?
I do feel like there should be term limits.
Okay.
Because you could just have the same kind of people who are tired of it or people who aren't really fresh and there should be term limits. I
I kind of agree with that. Yeah.
yeah,
I
5 years seems unfair.
yeah, you all know my position on term limits. I don't think there should be any. But there has to be a robust reappointment process. And I was speaking to the chief of staff just this evening. And I said, you know, if we do take the term limits out, it's gonna be incumbent upon the Board of Selectmen to make sure that Chris Wick comes up for his re-commission on the golf commission, you know, that somebody should be able to say, geez, I haven't seen this guy for 12 months. He shouldn't be back on the commission. So there needs to be a process. And she did inform me that there have actually been chairpersons of different commissions that have come forward to the first selectman and say, yeah, you shouldn't have Chris Witt back on there. He doesn't show up. So there is a kind of a process, but yeah, I mean, that's my position. Term limits, I think, just especially for some of these really tough ones like the Ethics Commission and the Pension Board are restrictive. But I'm only one vote, and but again, they have to come with a robust reappointment process if we're to recommend, yeah.
Chair DeWitt, I tend to agree with you, especially from a consistency standpoint. If the individual kind of knows the history behind some of the major capital improvements or capital expenditures, right? And has that, you know, authentic information, and they're no longer on the board, you kind of dilute the substance of the improvements.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're saying if you're a golf commissioner for 5 years, and you don't show up your first year, you're staying on all 5 years until you go up, you can terminate someone in between.
No, I think they've removed them before.
You gotta have an option not to, there must be a
I
mechanism.
think that goes, yeah, I think that goes back to what Chair DeWitt just said. There should be a robust vetting process, a robust re-election process, and you could probably.
You've been reappointed, and then you have.
No, let me, I
a
wasn't done.
deadbeat.
I wasn't done. And then you can add that there's at least some kind of performance criteria when they're on the board. So they can execute and prosecute their duties. I
think technically the answer to Commissioner Hoag's question is, yes, that's absolutely accurate. Until you are up for reappointment, there's no documented process that says, hey, Mary Hoag, man, I just elected her to the golf commission. She had shown up for 2 years. We'll have to deal with her for 3 more years before we throw her off. I think that's right.
We need a mechanism.
Actually, this was just pointed out to me by a venerated member of our audience, that 3.6 is about removal from the appointed office for cause. In the charter, in the effective charter now.
Any town officer.
Or member of any board.
Yep.
And we have to look at the definition of officer, that
May be removed for cause by the appointing town officer or board, provided notice is
Give a
first.
notice with specific grounds.
But it also says of any appointed board too.
Yes.
Yep.
Opportunity to be heard. They get due process.
They do, I was just gonna say, they do fraud, this is.
When a town officer is an
So there-
individual elected or appointed to a town office other than as a member of an authority, board, or commission.
Oh, okay, so this wouldn't address what we just talked about, but it would address.
Jerry's gonna represent them.
So that will cover us, unless we change that.
Hmm.
Wait, why is it excluded? Sorry?
In
In A, right? We're talking
1.3 would be,
1.3?
yeah.
Which is back to terms.
Which is back to terms, yeah.
On the next page, town officer is an individual elected or appointed to a town office other than as a member of an authority, board, or commission.
Is the town office, does that include, what a senior, employee would be in, I'm looking at this.
That would be a
Town
office.
That would be a town official in the commission.
Yeah, but this 3.6A says town officer or
Right,
member of any appointed board or commission.
right. So I'm wondering if.
So there is a
town
way to
officer-
remove them for cause.
Yeah, of course.
Basically, that seems like a very all-encompassing statement. Pretty much
Yeah.
anybody can be removed
Yeah,
unless you're an elected official
right.
for cause.
Right, so
Like,
you, there's a mechanism to remove somebody that just becomes ineffective.
When is that out at the first meeting I came?
One official is,
But back on the golf commission, but the broader point of limits.
Right.
There's the question of, okay, is the golf commission too onerous of a 5-year waiting period? Or that's a very specific question, or the broader question is, are there limits? So we wanna more generally.
So term limits are a different discussion, as you rightly so keep pointing this out. I think, so I'll make a motion, we can go from there. I make a motion that section 10.18 of the charter of the golf commission, that we remove the sentence under A that says no member shall be eligible for reappointment to the golf commission for a period of 5 years after the end of the term. I'm happy to change that to 1 year if someone would like, or, yeah, let's do that because that'll get to the broader question. So I'll make my motion again. I make a motion that we change the last sentence on 1018A to no member shall be eligible for reappointment to the golf commission for a period of 1 rather than 5 years after the end of his or her term.
I second that.
Any further discussion?
the other 5-year terms, do they also only get 1 term?
Good point. So the other 5-year terms are the Conservation Commission. Let's see where the Conservation Commission falls.
They have a term limit.
Of just 1 term or
No,
2
it's
terms?
several.
Yeah.
We had Kevin Rumpler for 20 years, but then he had to go.
Finally had to go, yeah.
It says both members and alternates shall be appointed by the first selectman for a term of 5 years. This is the Conservation Commission. Members' terms shall be staggered so that no more than 2 members expire in 1 year. Alternate terms need not be staggered. What does it say? There's terms.
What do you mean by waiting list? A waiting period or something, you said, regarding golf commission.
Well, that was the point where
That's
that's the
current.
5-year period.
Oh, to be reappointed. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I thought you meant like members waiting to get on the commission. Oh,
There probably are though.
Guessing if you get free golf, I'm guessing it probably is.
I know,
don't know.
and that's why it's so short, like that's why there's only 1 term.
I don't think they get free golf.
I have no idea.
That's from 2006.
wouldn't allow it.
That's true.
I wouldn't actually.
Last
Well, listen,
I don't think it makes sense to wait anytime. I mean, like, why can't it just say shall serve up to 2 terms and just,
Where does it say in the?
like, why you have to wait a year to come back?
I'm with you. Sorry?
Where does it say in conservation that you have to leave?
I can't find it.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I can't find anything in here.
Hopefully we didn't get rid of them for, with no authority.
That's what it's more nature about.
I thought they all had term.
I mean, to me, and this is more the general point,
Conservation is 10.3.
I agree that I think it's somewhat silly to have a 1-term limit and then have it enforce some kind of waiting period. But like the Westport language on a single person limited to serving no more than 2 full consecutive terms or 8 consecutive years, whichever is greater on the same board or commission. Like something like that allows for consecutive terms, you know, potentially more than 2. If depending on the length of the term. But
But doesn't give you the stipulation to ever come back.
no, if you can come, it doesn't say you can't, you would just be, you wouldn't be able to do consecutive terms, you have to take a break.
Limited to
After 2 full terms or 8 consecutive years. So something like that gets at the point that there are term limits, but it also doesn't so much of a revolving door like in the golf.
So rather than saying you have to take a year or 5 years off, we just, if you make that statement, it's implied that Take a year off and come back if you want. Is it subsequent?
So like Board of Finance, in
He says
theory, would that
no.
be 12 years then? You'd be limited to 2 terms, right, on Board of Finance?
It's elected, there's no limit.
Oh, you, okay, you're right, these are appointed, sorry, I'm sorry.
Is limited to serving more than, so it says you're limited to serving more than 2 full consecutive terms, I see what you're saying. Or 8 consecutive years.
I think there's a missing no in the.
Right, yeah, I was gonna say, I keep missing something, right,
There's a
okay,
missing letter, there's a word there, but no, but that's the point.
okay. For the sake of this one line item, I don't think we voted on my motion, did we?
No.
So the motion on the table is to remove in the last sentence, to remove 5 years and change that to 1 year. Might be overcome by events at a later time if we decide to not put term limits on, but at this point, it would answer at least that thing. So is there further discussion or should I call the vote?
Will we go back to the question of the term too?
I think we're gonna have a generic term of, a generic discussion about all terms and it'll be, you know. Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Great, thank you very much. Wow, start of the terms of office. This has gotta be the most confusing thing in this document. Some people, can you, because I gotta tell you, some people start right after so many days after the election in December, and some people start on April 1st, depending on the commission. I'm blown away, but I mean, I read through it the other day and I found like 6 different options of when you start.
I know.
And then to further complicate things, which I'm not gonna recommend, is that the last charter revision, they had a couple things in here where they started even different times and I have no idea why. So I'm gonna ignore that. So we can take this up. I don't know how to even start this. I really don't. The only thing I guess I can say is the terms for when an elected official takes their office seems to be consistent, right? Do we agree with that part at least?
You mean November?
Yeah. In November, and then it's the first Tuesday in December, I think it is. Well, I don't know why I just don't look at it.
This is one that the town clerk suggested we change, and this is the suggestion on the screen.
Oh, you got it. Oh, great. Thank you.
3. So it lists 2.3.
Oh, yes. So the proposed change, the terms of office of elected town officials in the ER team shall commence on the 3rd Monday in November and shall continue until their successors have been elected. This is just for RTM, right? So the terms, so what she's changing is the terms of office shall commence on the 3rd Monday.
The problem the RTM has had a few times is that the swearing in of everybody happens sometimes on the 4th Monday. and
Right. That's when you have your first meeting.
We're required to have our organizational meeting then.
Right.
So either it should be clear that the swearing in has to happen on the 3rd Monday, or we have to maybe
Change your meeting.
change the organizational meeting.
Right.
And I don't know I feel like there's some other board that might have had an issue with this too, board meeting or.
I don't think, I can't recall any other issue except with the RTM organizational meeting. Because the organizational meeting for the Board of Finance and I believe the Board of Ed is the first meeting in December.
Okay.
That as far as it never was an issue in finance. I don't think it was an issue in the Board of Ed. But RTM, I know every year we have to be very careful. You get like 1 year, I think you guys got sworn in like the day before the organizational meeting.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, right?
Yeah, and we often need to have a November meeting because there might be,
Yeah,
deadlines.
There's
and-
stuff going on in November.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
right.
So.
So I think that's what the town clerk is trying to do here is to say, guys, listen, you have to put
Mhm.
the you know, it's almost not as important when they end their term, it's when they start their term, because it has to be prior to the organizational meeting, right? And the terms before just say the third Monday after the election, yeah, well,
Oh, it's
After
just,
the election and qualification, and so we've often
Yeah.
gotten stuck on what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I wanna just see exactly where that is in here, and then maybe I'll make a motion. 2.3.
I guess one tricky thing too is that if there's a recount, then that postpones when we even know who the winners are, and then you still have to organize the swearing in, so that's
and maybe it's a silly question, when are you elected?
the first.
First Tuesday in
No,
November.
I know that, but I mean, is it when the clerk certifies the results? Is that like considered the election?
That's a good question.
Oh, when are you,
Like elected, you're not voted
Yeah.
on, I mean, when they actually say yes.
we count all the electoral votes?
So it was January 6th, yesterday for the presidential, right? But like, when is that in Fairfield?
It probably is.
Like when the
town
clerk certifies it?
I would think so, yeah.
It's a good point, there's no certification process that I'm aware of.
They have to send it up to the
State.
town clerk has to send us results up to the state,
Secretary of State.
then you're elected.
Must be certified by the Secretary of State, I
You're
guess that's.
elected and qualified.
So that's when it's, you're technically elected, okay.
And in 2006, it said elected and qualified. And in 2022, they changed it to clarify.
Okay. Based on this specific comment of the town clerk, I'll make a motion to, this is a body motion, under section 2.3 D, that the, let's see. Oh, yeah, sorry, I've got her note here too, just a second. Town clerk. Well, I guess I can make this even easier. I mean, this is a document that has been delivered to us, so I would just make a motion, take a sense of the body to approve the proposed change under section 2.3 made by the town clerk.
I second that.
Okay.
Just a question around discussion on it, from an RTM perspective, this is the moderator's input.
Yeah, the moderator also, if we.
Right, and so this, it fixes that issue, right?
Yes, because we can
Okay.
do our.
Right, so it's good from an RTM perspective, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is basically what,
Yeah.
in a nutshell,
Yeah.
Marcy's talking about the organizational meeting. You can't mess with the organizational meeting. That's gonna be a problem, right?
Okay.
Any further discussion on this particular line item? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Is that so that addresses both moderator Spolier and does that address your comment? You had made a comment.
Well, yeah, 2022 straightened it out. It was misinterpreted the way it was written in 2006. But it was changed in 2022 to reflect this.
Okay.
And she
Oh,
just
per the
said-
town clerk's recommendations.
She's been saying she wants you to renew so if you look at that section in 2022,
Got it.
it is.
Understand. Okay, good.
Okay.
Terms for boards and commissions. This is a consider standardizing, and it was one of the internal benchmarks, if you have that, number 6. So the terms for the boards and conditions are currently under I think 1.3 is the most inclusive, or 1.4, sorry. Section 1.4 just tells everybody what, you know.
1.4, you said?
Let's see, other towns have a mix of approaches. So, I think the point this is trying to get to is, well, there's a couple points here for me. One point is that everybody does a little bit different. If Britain does it one way, we do it one way, okay, Camden does it another way. If the question is, should every office have the same term? I would kind of say no. Clearly, the RTM is only a 2-year term. Board of Selectmen, town clerk are 4-year terms. So, can you scroll up just a little bit? I'm just curious if there's a recommendation. I don't think so, right? That was not really, no. However, try to require the attorney to.
But this is around boards and, the question is on the boards and commissions.
This is right, boards and commissions. Oh,
Not so much the
Yep.
the elected position.
sorry, you're absolutely right. So hold on. So I'm in the wrong section. I apologize. Boards and commissions would be under.
You could argue Article 10 is specific permanent appointed boards, commissions, and departments. There's that. But there's also some under the elected ones. So I guess we're talking maybe probably the appointment or the appointed ones probably.
It doesn't.
I like the New Britain approach. Give the authority to the RTM. But no more than 4 years.
It's interesting.
Everything should be in the.
Or in the charter.
Well, it goes back
The
to.
code gives the code gives the RTM a lot of power. It does.
Yeah. But it also simplifies the charter, which is what everyone wanted, the guiding light.
Keeps it up to date too, like you don't have to have a charter opening commission to change things.
So I guess what I'm struggling with is what was considered standardizing mean?
I'm not arguing we should change it, because I'm not sure if there's a problem. But, conservation, it sounds like it's 5 years. Police, 5, fire, 5, police and fire retirement board, 3 years. And then some with only 1 year that were elected, I think.
And I think there was a specific comment made by somebody that they didn't like the fact that tree warden was only 1 year. Right?
But yeah, that's a different one, yes. The public works. What is that there? But then the Board of Health seems like it's what, 4-year terms. Parks and Rec. It's 5-year terms. So it's kind of more just what's the rhyme or reason? Well, these are on 10, section 10. The fact that it's more, is it confusing the fact that they're kind of random or you just put them all at 5 years or something like that? I don't know. That would be that may be a way to, or 4, like a way to simplify it. But I'm not sure if there's a problem necessarily or major
I
problem.
mean, there's certainly a lot of rules, if you read some of them, to make sure there's continuity. So, 6-person commission, you don't want all 6 people to get voted off, so you only run 2 people or 3 people, whatever the number is. The overlap, I don't know that is really has any effect on the term, right? You just stagger the term every 2 years.
And if I remember correctly, there was also a specific recommendation from the town librarian that the term of 6 years for the Board of Trustees library trustees be reduced? They said it was hard to find people to commit to 6 years.
When you elect your officials for 4 years, but you expect them to serve 6, I mean, it's.
Well, no, Board of Finance is 6 years.
Yeah, I'm not, I mean, should that be the case? I was wondering about that. Like,
Well, that's a whole
why-
different question.
Yeah, I know.
It is. Yeah,
It would seem to me that
Limits for that, cause it's elected, right?
there's no term,
Well, okay.
there's no term
terms.
limits.
Are we talking terms or term limits? That's our topic.
Right this second, we're talking about
Terms.
terms.
do we want to standardize terms?
Do we want to standardize the term?
Yeah, for like for the appointed boards and commissions.
Years, 2-year alternates.
We could
You're
argue
saying
that
every commission should be 4 years with 2-year, what,
I
sorry?
guess they did that because then you have people that don't align with the first selectman that's appointing you, that's right, they're 4 years. So you potentially be in lockstep with.
well, they also, though, most of them do reference that you can only do max like 1 per year, like
Yeah.
for stagger the appointments, so that would take care of that. I mean, it seemed to me either we just don't touch this one, or we say something along the lines of 4 years and they're staggered. Or,
This is a tough one, I mean. Dave, as far as the Board of Finance is concerned, I mean, I'm in agreement with Chairperson Charlton, which is 6 year, I tell you, my first 2 years on the Board of Finance, I had no idea what I was doing. Really, seriously, no idea. And I ran that by Lori and she's like, yeah, that's pretty much true. And then, you know, you're still left with 4 years at that point to do.
You're really doing 4 years.
You're really doing 4 years, you're sitting in a seat for 2 years, but I have to tell you, the first budget process, you know, unless you've been sitting in the audience for years, you're not making a whole lot in, right? Would you agree with that? I mean,
Are there specific inputs that we should address? It sounds like to me like we shouldn't just blanket.
right, I
So
agree with
therefore,
that.
let's switch gears. Are there specific concerns that should be addressed? Like if somebody's a 1 year and they say that just doesn't work, well, let's address that.
yeah, I agree, Brian, there, that we should,
Yeah, tree ward.
that we should ignore it, or choose not to take action, not ignore it. And then, yes, like, we've been requested to look at library trustees, we've been requested to look at the tree warden.
Right,
We've been requested not to look at Board of Finance by some, but others, we have been requested to look at it.
right.
So probably just look at the ones where.
Let's just
it's
look at
raised.
those then, yeah.
So should we take up so the tree warden for me is easy.
Yeah.
Do it.
I mean, what was the
One is
recommendation?
One is crazy, isn't it?
I think legally, I feel
Only
like.
go up to 2. These are 1 or 2, you can do more.
Okay,
By state statute.
so I'll make a motion that under section 1.4, organization of the town, section B, subsection 2, tree warden term should be changed from 1 year to 2 year.
Second.
And statute,
Sorry?
there's a state statute.
Yes, and it's a max of 2 years.
Changed in 2022,
Yes.
was added to that.
Which is in
State
the,
statute.
first.
So you're saying I
selection.
can't make that motion?
No,
No, they
we need to make that.
increased it to 2.
You don't need to make it because it's a state statute, and that's why it was added.
It's in the charter.
Except it's in the charter would override the state statute.
No,
No, the
Well,
state
the
statute.
statute would override charter.
We wanna
well,
have
But we might as well
In
make it
2000
Memorialize it, right, yeah.
This is what the first selectman requested there, was highlighted in the.
Oh, that's
screen.
right,
So do exactly what Judy's
Yes.
mentioning, that
great.
we should update
The
it to be
change was
consistent.
made, although the.
That's Chris's motion right there.
Got it,
Yes.
Changed in 2022.
got it. Even more
Even
ammunition for my motion.
Stronger.
Yeah.
And you seconded it.
Any further comment? Or
Online,
discussion, I should say?
On the tree warden.
Jane, Dan?
Any strong feelings on the tree warden, Jane or Dan?
No, agree.
Agreed.
Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So then to go back, do we need to make a motion or agree with the broader statement that we're not going to make some kind of blanket change? Instead, we're only gonna look at the ones that are specifically requested.
Yeah, that would be, my motion would be to not make a blanket change to terms and conditions, terms of boards and commissions.
Appointed or elected.
So
Sorry,
Appointed or elected.
either appointed and elected.
and what did we asked about the board of
Before we do that, wasn't there one?
That's captured up in the boards and commissions, a specific request.
we're not we're not, that's
This-
term.
This one, I know, this one, you could.
Subject, this one could go either, it could go either.
This one
way.
was like a blanket.
Did he ask first, but I'm just wanting to know, did he ask for specifically?
The town librarian specifically asked to change it, yeah.
Yeah,
So
Trevor,
what though I'm asking?
that's, I have to go back and look.
That's why I'm asking.
Hold on, I have it right here.
Yes, shorter about 4 or?
I think he shortened it, yeah. For sure he shortened it, yeah.
Oh, I know he's, yeah,
I don't remember.
Let's see, what's his name?
3 years.
Scott,
Is-
Oh, Scott,
Library
you're,
leadership is adamant
3
about
years.
reducing the term trustees serve from 6 to 3 years.
Wow, so nobody, that's our first 3.
where is that called out?
In the charter or the feedback, sorry.
No, I know where it is in the charter.
It says 816A, according to his reference. Okay, so yeah, you're right.
There is no there is no 816, so
You must
10
be
what?
Referring to the 2022.
Oh, yeah. probably.
1.4, where we defer,
Oh, here it is.
for
6 years.
So I'll make a motion, we'll just do this right now. So I'll make a motion to amend section 10.17 of the existing charter. Subsection A, change the last 2 words of shall appoint one trustee to a term of 6 years to 3 years.
Oh, I see. What do you,
Any further discussion on this topic?
support that librarian and therefore,
I would too, in fact,
sounds good to me.
no, sorry, I have to, there's another reference to 6 years in here. I'll add to my motion that in 1017B, it currently says no person who has served a full 6-year term shall be eligible for reappointment. So now it'll say no person who has served a full 3-year term shall be eligible for reappointment unless after a lapse of 1 year, which is a little
He may not want that.
restrictive.
Might be 1 to 2 terms.
Got,
yeah. What?
He didn't talk about term limits.
let's see, well, he said,
People can always say, I don't wanna run, I don't wanna be in another term, so they can get out of it if 6 is too.
oh, sorry, you know what, hold on. Let me share my screen because he does make reference to it. He says, make this a little bit bigger. He says, okay, we're adamant that we want to reduce the term, got it. If 6, don't worry about the section. Prospective trustees will continue to have the opportunity, sorry. Library trustees can serve 2 consecutive terms. Prospective trustees will continue to have the opportunity to serve longer.
Right, so we wanna add.
That is not what it says today.
term
Right.
limits of 2, a limit of 2 terms.
So, okay, so let's just vote on the 6 year to 3 years. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'll make another motion. 1017B. I say we remove the last sentence of B, which says no person who has served a full 6-year term, that entirety, and replace it with library trustees can serve 2 consecutive terms. Prospective trustees will continue to have the opportunity to serve longer. That's exactly from his note right there, Prue.
Up in A. I can't see that.
Okay,
Perspective.
okay, remove last sentence and replace with library trustees can. No,
That's not right, it doesn't, it's not it doesn't belong under vacancy and reappointment, it belongs, right? It belongs under A. Of 2, of the limit.
Oh, I guess, yeah, okay. We have to remove the sentence in B that no person.
I think you could just change it to 2 full 3-year terms as trustee.
Okay, great. So make the motion then.
And then they have
Okay,
to wait
wait.
1 year?
Are we changing the motion or?
I'm gonna remove
Recanting it.
Okay, so let me cross this
I'm
out.
making a motion that in 1017 A, we're changing the term to be 3 years, that's the last 2 years,
Yep,
with a term limit of 2 consecutive terms.
perfect. I'll second that.
Wait, can I ask, so then what happens in B?
I think we have to remove that last sentence, don't you? That no person,
No, then I was gonna say, and in B, no person who has served 2 full 3-year terms as trustee shall be eligible for reappointment.
okay,
Okay, yeah.
perfect.
Did you get that?
No. I will, okay, so B,
On the last sentence, Prue, it currently says no person who has served a full 6-year term. It's gonna be changed to no person who has served 2 3-year terms. Any further discussion on the motion? Excuse me. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Back on the, did we agree on?
Sorry? You can
sorry,
speak.
can you email me that document? That you're referring?
Yeah, it's on the website too, but I can send it to you, yes.
I think we broadly agree, but do we need the motion around, or not doing the blanket change? Or do we already?
We did make a motion.
That's done? Okay.
Yeah, we made a motion and said, no, we're not doing, I think we voted on it, did we
No,
not?
we didn't. On the
Did I make a
blanket?
motion, we didn't vote?
Right.
Okay, so I made a motion to not consider a blanket change to terms for boards and commissions. That has been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Sorry about that, guys.
You really don't even have to
Probably
make a
don't.
motion for a non-action.
You know, listen, the whole thing that with these sensitive body votes here, the last commission didn't do any of that. And there was, at least as an outside observer, looking back at some of the tapes, they're like, did we talk about that? I just wanted this all kind of recorded.
More or
It might
less.
seem a little mundane, but
That's a good point.
it's better than sitting back there, wait a minute, did we vote on that? So
Are we not gonna talk about the Board of Finance term, everyone's?
No, I think that's next.
that's
Okay,
next.
good. Okay.
That's next. So terms of elected office,
One quick question. So we just said that we were gonna put term limits on the library trustees. Everybody else doesn't seem to have term limits. Do you wanna talk about term, like having 2 consecutive terms and that's it, or any of that stuff?
no other commission, you're saying?
So far, except for golf and that, everybody else I've looked, no one has, well, I don't know how Gumpert got. I don't know. But I do remember them saying he was terming off. I think he just wanted to get off.
Just use that as an excuse. Termed out.
The pension board definitely has a term restriction. Pension board's not
I'm
even
just
under
going
it.
through this list,
Linda Roshan does too.
no,
And we know ethics commission does. We discussed ethics commission.
well, according to this, the flood and erosion, which totally gotta be changed because of state statute. The members shall have terms of 5 years, which shall be staggered, so that no more than 1 term expires in 1 year. Nothing about term limits. That's our charter,
Right.
but the state statute has changed. It's a whole different name. It's got more people on it. They're gonna appoint people tomorrow on it, actually. So so this is all wrong. Cause there was a new state statute 2 years ago. So I know that's gotta change, and that's where I don't understand. How does that work? Because they're changing it via,
The ordinance,
right? So this is totally wrong.
yeah,
Like, even the name's wrong, like everything about
Right.
it's wrong.
yeah.
So how does that work?
Well, I guess it depends on what we decide about putting in here or the code, but we could put what the ordinance says into here if that's what we decide to do with commissions. But yeah, change the name, it changed the number of.
It's totally confusing.
Yeah.
What's the confusion? I mean, I
The
get
state statute changed the name of the Flood and Erosion Control Board to this very long thing that they just call themselves FERB now, because it's just way too long to know what to say. And
so they changed the name of every town's flood and erosion control. They,
The state, it's a
so the
state
state names the board
this
or the
one,
commission.
this particular one,
Yeah, that's
Jesus,
been-
for real.
and that's been requested,
by Becky.
that we will,
Sure.
that we look at that, yeah.
So, yeah, so I guess you must have done that already because she's getting people appointed tomorrow, so.
Yeah, so we had to change.
That's,
it
but
as
that's on
well.
a separate line item, yeah. Okay.
But I'm asking, like, this whole section is wrong, like the name is wrong, like everything else is
So
wrong.
I think is Miss Bennell, right?
Funnel.
Bunnell, sorry. I think we'll address that when we get to, I don't know what topic that's under.
Yeah, flood prevention, under the boards and commissions.
Yeah, and I mean, more than likely, we'll just nuke the whole thing, call it a new name and for me, like, call it a new name and point to the state statute and we'd be done.
Right.
I don't know why we would, other than calling out the terms, unless the terms are called out by the state statute.
I think we added a number of alternates too or something,
Okay.
so.
Okay. It does say something about temporary members in here now, but I don't know if that means alternate.
And then just as I was looking for term limits, because again, I would be curious to know if you want to put the term limits. The historic district is the only one I saw that the Board of Selectmen has to take input from the RTM for appointments. And all the others are just Selectmen, Board of Selectmen. Why in
There
particular?
were a few others like harbor management.
I don't know, I haven't come across those in the charter. They're in the code,
Oh, yeah,
harbor.
right.
Flood prevention, climate
Yeah,
resilience.
this is part of the problem with code versus charter. Yeah. What's
So
that?
that's why they're FERB.
Flood prevention, climate resilience and erosion control board.
They're FERB. I don't know if you ended up with FERB, but that's.
State government at its best.
And they have currently four vacancies, so term limits is the least of their.
Tomorrow they're getting people.
I'm not sure.
It's gotta be unanimous.
But your broader point of why do a few of the boards have term limits
Yeah.
and many others do not?
Most don't. And just in general, it's good practice to have term limits, honestly. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, it's again, the only reason that I'm against term limits is there's a part of our webpage in the town that says I can't get anybody to be in the ethics commission, I can't get anybody to be on the investment board, you know. If we were swimming in people, I would be like 2 years and kick them out and get somebody else, I mean, but that's
Those are
not.
the ones that only those few don't have term limits and others, most do.
That's hard to fill. Plus, if it's only 1 year that you have to wait to go back on.
Yeah,
It's 5 years was crazy.
that
That was punitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, you guys know my position on term limits, my default, I could be talked into only 1 year. 5 years ridiculous,
No, that makes no sense.
it does make, yeah.
Was there, I don't think there was a study of that, right, Eric? Yeah.
Well,
Other towns.
that was the term, that was back in the terms of boards and commissions about do we standardize? And that was the Westport language around, you know, you can't serve more than 2 full terms for 8 years, whichever is greater.
They did that for all of their things.
I think in Westport.
No, but it basically, isn't that the one that said the RTM basically makes the call?
That was a different.
Oh, that was a different one? Oh, okay.
Same, there's different models.
Most of the municipalities surveyed actually do not have similar term limitation requirements for any board or commission. Oh, that's what, like this is in the discussion at the golf commission, but you're just saying, he's saying most of the municipalities don't have term limits.
I mean, from a consistency perspective, we already said that we didn't want to make a blanket statement around standardizing terms for the various boards and commissions. So to be internally consistent, we might just say we're not gonna make a blanket statement around term limits either.
Hmm.
And maybe focus it more on I don't know if we've gotten any feedback around term limits. Like requesting more.
No, the only person who complained about term limits is me. I mean, yeah, I mean,
The library.
The library.
well, that's not a term limit, that's a
It was
term imposition.
full terms and then you're on.
Right, but it's a.
No, but his real complaint was people are willing to sign up for 3 years, but 6 years is like, oh, that's.
They might be willing to sign up for 3 + 3,
Yes.
not 6.
Right, even though the math is the same, right, yeah.
So, yeah,
Do we
don't have
really
to
need
decide.
to, I mean, I conceptually, like if we were gonna build a charter from scratch, we're like, sure, I put in term limits. But if we wanna make a blanket statement,
We don't have to change everything that you're thinking about, right? Maybe.
Yeah, it does bring up the broader question of why does one commission have to be approved by the Board of Selectmen and the RTM? That is really doesn't make any sense to me. So, I mean, I don't think we could do it tonight, so I wanna make sure we're clear on that. But
We would actually like to have more commissions we have to approve.
which is probably the exact opposite of what we're just guessing.
not necessarily, well, I mean, no, I think what you're saying is you'd like to have more input as to who gets on the commission. Not if no.
Yes,
What?
yes, right.
I'll be very clear. I would like to limit the power of the RTM to say a commission exists or doesn't exist. I would be perfectly happy with letting the RTM have more say in who's on the commissions, for
But
sure.
then we couldn't create any commission until the charter's open. So we created the Arts Commission and the Fair Rent
Oh,
Commission, which
and
is
that's what the code's for. No, I'm with you. I guess what I'm saying is that I feel like opening up the charter is a reset point. And the only reason a lot of this stuff's in the code is because it had to be there, because there was no other place to put it.
Mhm.
So having said that, unless we change it, it would seem to me that we would take everything out of the code that was created and drop it in. Now, again, I keep going back to Shellfish Commission. Why that's in the code and not in the charter for being, it's 1975. I mean, Jesus, why has it been in the code and not the charter? Maybe because, as you said, Commissioner Treshik, maybe at that time, everybody said, well, I really want to have a Shellfish Commission, but I don't want to have a Shellfish Commission. Because if it's in the charter, you kind of have to have it, right?
And then we still have to talk about that, because maybe it should all go into the code.
Yeah.
To figure that
There was that
out.
bigger, right.
Yeah.
I know we keep coming back to that. Right.
Well, and also, I think that was around the time when the Shellfish Commission Authority was promulgated by the legislature, the state legislature, so. You can
Well, there's another twist I didn't know about, yeah.
have one, once you could have one, you could have one. It doesn't matter if it's in the charter or not.
Right.
If the state legislature says every town can have one,
State statute.
then you can have, then you can have one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Give permission to the towns to have.
And the reason for the ordinance was probably, we're not gonna wait 5 years for a charter revision just to start this commission. We're gonna start this commission today.
Right.
They removed it over.
No, and again, the whole process of adding new commissions through the town code, because you can't open the charter every 5 minutes. I completely understand that. Again, my contention is that is there a resetting point now where it should go to the go to the charter? Or should it, the other way? I don't wanna.
Well, before we go into detail on that, though, we haven't finished terms.
Right.
Right.
I'm with you.
There are 2 terms.
So this next one is to talk about, what's the first selectmen's comments first? Do you have that, just so we?
We'll find that, yes.
Topics.
This is the standard, the questions are standardized to 4 years with the exception of RTM.
I thought we voted.
Not to do that.
Or we talked about. board-
This is elected offices. This is elected offices only, right? Do the current terms serve the town's needs? Are 6-year terms better for stability on the Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen?
So it's, the only input on the first
Right.
selectman is that's just considered standardized, other than RTM.
Oh, okay.
Well, we've heard from Board of Finance that the chair thinks 6 is good, so we don't want to change that because we assume the chair knows better than.
I would add my support to that as well. I would, I have not heard from the chairman of the Board of Education, but they are a 4-year term. I haven't heard if he or anyone else on the board wants to be six.
Isn't Jen the?
Nope.
No. it's
Jeff
not.
Peterson.
Jeff Peterson?
Jeff Peterson was
But
recently.
they had been six, they changed it.
Nope, four.
They had long ago, I thought, been six.
Oh,
I remember.
long, more than 20, like I said, not since I was elected. You remember that, Karen?
No, I've only been in town 12 years, so I don't, I haven't known.
Alright, it's been a long time. I don't think it's, well, since 2006. Which, they were 4 years, right? Board of Education, 4 years.
Mary Ann has 1 year.
What?
What's
How
that?
do you get started?
Mary Ann has RTM at 1 year. They must just
Yeah.
constantly be
It's the first year.
campaigning, like you never stop campaigning.
Yeah, you're always running, right? But yeah, to learn, to your point about Board of Finance, the first 1 or 2 budget years, you're just trying to figure it all out. So to have it every year would be very hard.
So we're talking about, so just to be clear, 1-4A, that we're talking about,
1-4A is probably the
elected positions.
Yeah.
terms, correct?
Yes. So the first selectman, we just the RTM, so don't worry about that. We did address, I think, the Board of Selectmen already, no?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? So we made a motion that it should stay at 4 years, right? The only other one would be, I don't know what Ms.
I mean,
Griffin's.
for me, this is a comment as a voter. Like, having to elect constables every 2 years, plus like the whole confusion on the planning and zoning on the alternates versus regular, that, it's just confusing,
Yeah.
you know, as a voter. And so I'm less around maybe the Board of Finance reducing, or not so much around reducing that, because I think that's gonna be a fight. Do we wanna pick that fight? But on the, every 2 years for some of the, I'm gonna say more smaller positions like constables, it's just confusing for people.
In the last version, the 2022 one, there was a lot of talk about that too, because I think the probate judge had asked. Yeah, to be able to pick our own constables and all.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
That's a whole different
that was
topic.
very controversial too, though, so we.
Right, and this, I'm not saying that, I'm merely saying, should they potentially serve for us, just from a simplification perspective, you.
Yeah.
I'm assuming constables are not held to any state statute.
No idea. But I mean, looking at 1-4A, we're not touching RTM, I don't think. We've already discussed Board of Selectmen, to Chris's point. So the one, they're constables at 2, Board of Finance at 6, zoning Board of Appeals 4 or 2, and town and the TPZ 4 or 2. So those are the only ones that aren't 4. And so in theory, we might just look at the ones that are not 4.
Not 4, right, yeah.
Do we know why they're 4 and 2 in those 2 things?
The alternate versus.
Is it alternate? Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know why it has to be.
Okay, the alternates are 4 years, but the zoning board of appeals, regular people are 4 years.
they made a recommendation.
Well, Bill is like, hey, consider putting all 4,
Yeah.
except RTM.
Right.
It doesn't look for regular constables, it doesn't look like there's a requirement in the statute, it's chapter 95. But there are restrictions for special constables. Special constables, a chief executive officer may appoint such number of special constables he or she deems necessary to preserve the public peace. Who may serve terms not more than 2 years, or during any public celebration or gathering or riot or unusual excitement.
So we can
They
appoint
shall have
Mr. Santa
special,
Con?
they shall have special powers to make arrests.
Right?
This is the state statute, Brian?
Yeah, but that's special constables, that's not regular constables. Regular constables, it doesn't have a term. It says each person elected to the office of constable in any town shall before the commencement of his or her term of office or within 30 days thereafter take an oath from an officer who shall certify in writing certificate of the person to whom the oath was taken, shall without delay lodge such certificate for record in the town clerk's office. That he or she was elected. No term for the regular constables.
9-164.
I think it's state.
So I'm reading from the
statute.
state statute.
Yeah. 9-164.
Is that the state statute she's asking?
Chapter 90.
As in the.
Oh, okay.
That's what
Okay. You take a look at that one then.
Chapter 146 of the general statutes, section 9-164.
That's regular and special municipal
So
elections.
this is also, if we had a sense that we wanted to increase it to 4, we could also ask the town attorney just to check, right? If it's an issue.
You certainly could.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, ETSAC, okay, vacancies, right, so it's referring to this.
That's the election, that's just a general election. Yeah, that's not specific to constables.
I mean, one idea, we could ask the actual zoning board of appeals and the TPZ if there's a reason that 2 years is advantageous for some reason.
TVZ, yeah.
And just understand that
Mhm.
from a voting perspective, it seemed like it'd be easier or simpler for people if it was pretty standardized for the most part.
Mhm.
So TPZ says it's 4 or 2 years.
Right.
Is that just a stagger or is that like a junior position or
That's what we don't know. I
Okay.
think that would be good to know.
2 for alternates.
yeah, maybe it's
for 4
alternate. Oh, yeah, TPZ alternate.
Yeah, that's 4 years according to. this.
Oh.
It's very
Oh.
puzzling.
Very strange.
You want to ask that question?
So TPZ and ZBA.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with ZBA, right? Okay. Okay, there's also there's a little bit more detail, just to talk about Ms. Griffin made a comment about she supported our don't change the first selectman back to 2 years. And then she made a comment, be cautious when considering 6-year terms to 4 years as a mathematical reason. The Board of Finance has 9 members, each with 6-year terms. I mean, there is a little math behind it. My purpose is a little more pragmatic. Like I said, first 2 years, so, I mean, I'll make a recommendation only because I think we need to make a motion because the first selectman asked to standardize that sense of the body that we not change the term of the Board of Finance from 6 years. Would anyone like to second it?
You just made a motion to not change the Board of Finance?
Or to keep the.
This is just it's a sense of the body. All these are sense of the body votes, Prue, so. The first, thank you, and seconded by Commissioner Hope, the reason for that is we have to respond to the first selectman's note. He said, everything should be 4 years. So having said that, I guess that would lead to the point that constables should be 4 years, right? That would support. And to me, no, that's elected. Oh, they're elected, that's right. So I guess the way I'm reading into it is Bill's saying everybody's elected should be for 4 years. I'm just making a motion that we keep Board of Finance at 6 years.
Yeah, that doesn't get staggered.
They don't get staggered. No, you clean them free every 2 years, yeah.
So that could, I don't know about a constable and the first selectman, or board of
Does
selectmen.
anybody want to be a constable for 4 years? I don't know, anyway. Any further discussion on my motion?
Who seconded?
My motion is to,
Keep the Board of
keep the
Finance.
Board of Finance as a 6-year term. No further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you very much. And then I have an action to contact, I'm not quite sure yet, but to follow up with First Selectman Gerber's comment about all the terms should be 4 years, and see if we can even do that with constables.
And yes, as well as ZBA.
Yeah, ZDA and TBD, same difference, right? Well, again, I'm gonna just ask a clarifying question, 4 or 2 years, I just don't understand what that means. And I don't think it's for staggered terms, but.
I think it's around, seems like trying to get an odd number in each election, I think, but yeah, we should clarify.
Yeah, well, I guess that would make sense, 1 2 year. But who gets the 2-year term? The person who gets the least amount of votes?
No, they run specifically.
Oh, they run for 2, well,
So it's like, what?
Yeah. Well, some people don't want to, okay. I think that covers everything in that line item 87. And then the next one is define specific terms of office. Back to the first selectman's note. I think we just did that. I'm not, is there some reason that's a separate line?
Yes, sorry, I'm just.
Yeah, sure.
Change to. 4 years. Okay. So yes, so the first selectman, number 6.
Got it. Term of town officers. Oh, yes. Back to this. What is a town officer?
Yeah, it goes back to, like, some were fine. So like the town attorney's doesn't have a defined term. Yep. Neither does the assistant or fiscal treasurer. Yeah, I think some of them did. Oh yeah, the building official, 4 years.
So his point is, it says, when not otherwise prescribed by the law, the terms of town officials appointed by the Board of Selectmen shall expire on the termination date of the Board of Selectmen appointing such officers. So there'll be an election in 2027. And if there's a new board of, a full new Board of Selectmen voted in, or even if it changes any mix of it, everyone, in theory, everyone who's been appointed by the Board of Selectmen, which is on our brand new list.
Officers though, remember town officers.
Which is-
have a clear definition.
Which is, that was the town, that's the A through L, isn't it, is it not 9.1? I think so.
So town officer.
So fiscal officer control.
Yeah, see, so section 9.1
Other than, okay.
are appointed town officers. So M through P
Oh, you're
to
right.
include the auditor, the assessor, the tax collector, and the tree warden.
Yes.
The question is, if you don't say anything else, it's just assume that when the board is no longer the board, do their appointments end? And can we terminate them without clause?
Sorry.
9.1 is lists the town officers.
Sorry.
And M through P are appointed by the Board of Selectmen. I think that's what he's trying to say. We should consider whether the length of the term of office should be defined in the charter so that the length of term for all offices is clear.
Well, we did already, well, that's not the right language, but we already agreed that these various officers can be removed without cause.
Right.
So,
Which is a limiting function, but not a, well, I guess we don't need anything more than a limiting function, right? It doesn't say, hey, you can only be CFO for 20 years, but I don't think we wanna say that, right?
So you're saying basically you can't term limits in terms of appointments? I don't think you.
I think what he's trying to say is, again, in theory, if I appoint you to a commission, and then tomorrow I get elected out, well, you're not appointed anymore, because I don't exist anymore.
Because of the general statute.
That's officers, these are officers, these are people.
You're town officers,
These are staff.
town officers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not elected, right?
Right, but they're staff, they're not on the commission, they're director of this, building official,
Yeah, okay,
they're not commissioners.
What, but no,
No,
but
no.
they're officers, aren't they?
they're town officers. I'm sorry, if I said commissioner, I'm sorry, I mean,
Yeah, okay.
I'm using
You
you,
did, you did.
so the Board of Selectmen appointed the tree warden. Prue, you're the tree warden. 2027, there's a whole new board. Is Prue still the tree warden? Because the people who voted her as tree warden no longer exist in the
Well, I
Board of
thought you
Selectmen.
told me shall means that they shall appoint, so a new person.
Yeah, and after they appointed, what stops Prue from being the tree warden?
Maybe they'll like me and they'll rehire.
Well, I mean, you're a bad example, because everyone would too. But I mean, the point, I think what Bill's trying to say is for all of this list of people in 9.1, is their term determined by the appointer, the body, or the person? Or should it be, his words, defined in the charter?
But when I asked that, you guys said that would be may, and you said no, shall, that the first selectman or the board of selectmen, wherever they're appoint your.
That's for appointments. This is for throwing you out of office. Or not being appointed,
Understanding,
unless I'm reading this wrong, you tell me.
yeah, I'm reading this as, so for the town officers, so listed in 9.1,
Right,
that do not have a specified term. The Connecticut General Statute referenced by the first selectmen's section 6 here
right,
would then say that those terms will expire with his term. So in theory, they're all out of a job.
Until that, so that first meeting that they have to reappoint those people.
And is that a problem? I don't know, do we run into that? Do we actually like fire everyone? I don't think we do we?
so I'll just use the tax collector. I think the tax collector is a great example. The tax collector is appointed by the Board of Selectmen. When there's a new board, I don't think the first meeting, everybody says, everybody okay with Joe being a tax collector? I unless it happens, and I've never noticed it.
I thought Bill did that this year, and that was a problem, and that was like this whole big,
Well, I don't know.
cause I.
Well, he's been in office for 2 years, so he would have had it done it when it would have to be literally the organizational meeting. He would have to say, okay, it's just like the new president coming in. Hey, are you the Secretary of Defense? Yes. I'm gonna show up on Monday and as the new president, and you're either gonna be the Secretary of Defense again, or it's gonna be some other person, right? That's exactly what this is saying.
I thought he did that, I think that's a question for Bill, cause that was what I remembered happening, and it was a big. People said, we've never done that before.
I guess my question is this. If we make a blanket statement right now and say, has nothing to do with the appointee, so the person who appoints you, we all appointed Prue the tree warden, and Prue will remain the tree warden until whatever. How do we define that term? Do we then say, now, there are things in the 2022 charter revision that say very specific, when they changed something, they said, hey, as of November of 2025, they were predicting that theirs was gonna pass, of course. As of November of 2024, this term is now gonna be 4 years. And then as of 2025, so there's some very specific things in there that call out dates based on the fact that they were hoping that their thing would have been gone into effect in 2022. So again, if we leave it, if we, as he says, if we wanna put a length of term on it, you have to define the term. So we would have to say, okay, so this is gonna pass in November of 2025 to a referendum. As of January 1st, 2027, Prue's term as tree warden is 4 years.
Or you do what Eric said, which is, as you read the statute, that it aligns with the selectmen or board of selectmen.
Then that forces that first meeting. I mean, if we're gonna follow.
That forces which I think that, maybe I'm reading it wrong. I think he's trying to get away from it aligning to the,
I wonder if we should ask him.
That's
as
the
they're
yeah,
reading the
I'll ask,
budget.
I'll ask a clarifying question about numbers.
No, I agree. I think he is trying to get away from the statute because, I mean, not in a negative way, but just because if you follow the letter, it would imply that all appointed town officers should be
I
fired
only know that because I.
Right.
as soon as a new first selectman comes in
Agenda item number.
and then have to be reappointed. And I think that would be very disruptive if we did that.
So,
Maybe that happened because.
Okay, but we need to get more information.
Yeah, I
Like
can,
to
I
change
can
it.
ask that question. Did you mean to,
well, people were complaining, well,
again, the way I read it, and I think I'm beginning to recall what you talked about. There was somebody had questioned. The way I read it right now is everyone who Brenda Kupchak took to office and she appointed all these people. And then Brenda Kupchak loses and your appointee no longer exists. So your first meeting should be, I have to reappoint everybody who Brenda Kupchak as first select person appointed. And here's all the people the board has to reappoint. I think that's what it should be happening. But I think he's trying to say, I don't want it to be that way.
I would rather ask.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask the question, yeah.
And just, you know, I did add a follow-up required column to this, so some of these we've decided and really no follow-up required regardless of accepting the red line piece. But some other ones like this, there's a follow-up, they're just gonna filter down to the follow-ups. So I think that finishes terms.
Excellent. Agenda item 10 is discussion of CRC topic checks and balances. This ought to be fun.
So
Appointing the CFO, appointed by the Board of Finance. Yeah, Ms. Griffin's recommendation was maybe the CFO should be appointed by the Board of Finance. I feel like I shouldn't talk about this.
Seems like a bit much.
This would be a lot.
Yeah.
There's been, I'll just give you my opinion. I think the Board of Finance should be part of the interview process for the CFO, 100%. A decision maker, I think that's stretching it.
Clarifying question, is the CFO the fiscal officer and controller? Or is it
No,
different?
that's two different roles.
Okay, sorry, where is the?
So the chief finance,
Defined? Where is that?
that's a good point. It should be it's a town,
Well, it says a fiscal officer, but that's really should be chief fiscal officer.
oh,
That's what I'm wondering, is that the
9.1.
same? Is that the new name of the role, essentially? So 9.5 fiscal officer controller, is that now?
Oh. Oh.
I'm just wondering what we're talking about.
No, good question. From the way I read this, it has to be appointed by the first selectman, shall be a certified or licensed public accountant. I would think that
We're not following that, are we?
what's that? I don't think there's definitely nothing to do that talks about. Hold on, I'm curious what the last,
It's like the CIA is trying
what do
to.
you call this, appointed officer.
The Russians or whatever.
Eric, point of clarification, it's Jerry McHenry. the CFO acronym, does that come from the Griffin email? Because maybe she's not
Yes,
giving it the
Right,
right
good.
acronym.
good point. Yes, a number, it's not on the screen. Yeah, I can bring that up. So good point, Jerry.
All that for several.
I cannot,
Just as a point of reference, the 2022 commission renamed that office to wrong. They still called it fiscal officer.
Yeah, because as I was reading this today, I didn't understand, I wasn't clear who we were talking about.
No, it's a good point. I think that the acronym CFO did not come from anyone other than Ms. Griffin.
So,
and her comment is, okay, it's on the screen now.
So it should be-
bigger,
it should be.
sorry. So
Fiscal officer.
6,
But I mean,
that's the driver of the comment.
right,
And I guess to your point, maybe CFO is a generic term in this case, and I guess we're technically talking about the fiscal officer.
So in the current charter and even the revision from 2022, this role is called the fiscal officer.
and it says that they're responsible for Board of Education, but they have their own fiscal officer. So
They do.
we don't follow this then, because they have their own fiscal officer. It says the fiscal officer be responsible in conducting accounting of the financial activities,
Gary's
including the
box?
Board of Education.
Log off your screen sharing every now and then.
I think when I stop sharing, I just stopped
I'm
sharing.
sorry.
He was the last person who spoke.
Oh, the chief should be responsible.
Do you see nine
Yes, I do.
9.5
B,
B2?
right.
But Board of Ed has their own fiscal officer.
Yeah, but the fiscal officer of the town trumps the fiscal officer of the Board of Education.
They really following, are they?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
They go through in fact, there's a recommendation from select person Vitale to break off the purchasing part of the Board of Education and make it a separate entity. Today, the purchasing all goes through the town purchasing department. And the purchasing department works for the the fiscal officer. I'm using the right words. But you know, that is technically true.
But it sounds like there's not a lot of energy to change the appointment process from the first selectman to the Board of Finance.
If she's actively asking that the Board of Finance should be the only, yeah.
That's the request.
Does the Board of Finance now always interview or get involved in the selection? Or it probably depends on the first select person, right?
Lori didn't.
16 years, I didn't interview any CFOs, and there were 4?
Lori did weigh in on that, so.
Oh, okay.
I think I pretty much, I think she would align with what I'm saying, but we could, you know.
It seems like the first selectman probably should be able to choose. I don't know.
That's it.
Yeah, and again, just asking for, you know, to be involved in the process, I don't think that's anything that should be brought up in the charter, so.
Mhm.
So do we need a motion to say no? We're not gonna do that?
I'll certainly make a motion that we, and I wanna be, Prue's right, I shouldn't be saying shouldn't say not in a motion, right?
We
Oh.
considered it and agree.
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah, I'll make it, the commission,
power of appointment of the financial officer remains with the first selectman.
thank you very much, that's a great motion, Jerry, I'll second your motion.
Do you want to check with Lori or do we just want to leave it at that?
I don't think there's any reason to.
So
But-
along those lines, wasn't there a comment that the auditor shouldn't be
Yes,
selected by the?
that is one, we can talk about that now, that's one of these.
The auditor, yes, that's a broader discussion, yeah,
That makes sense to me. There's a conflict there.
there's a lot of discussion around that one, as far as I'm concerned.
Should we just do that one now?
We have to
Um,
vote, right?
We have to vote.
We have to vote, but I just wanna make sure I have it right. The power of the appointment of the CFO remains with,
Board of
Fiscal
First
officer.
selectman. Yeah, it's
First off,
fiscal
it's
officer.
Fiscal officer, not CFO, fiscal officer.
Yeah.
Shall remain with the first selectman,
What we call it CFO.
as per section 9.1.
So,
Matters, it's 9.5.
Thank you.
But this, yeah.
On that.
9.1 is who appoints it, but yes, thank you, that's correct,
Good.
Commissioner.
to Mary's point, maybe we talk internal auditor as a
Sure.
next one.
Which one are we talking?
Um,
Oh, we last one.
That's on checks and balances.
The first selectman's
And there's-
comments.
I can share.
Thank you.
these. So the first selectman agrees that this should be reviewed. Okay, so it's here. That's the first selectman comment. Please look at it. Consider the Board of Finance.
Oh, hold on. So the internal auditor reports to the fiscal officer, right?
he's saying chief.
Therefore should consider, yep, okay, got it. So the first selectman's asking that maybe the reporting responsibility for internal audit function be changed from the CFO to the Board of Finance.
Fiscal officer.
Yes, and that was the this is the intern benchmarking. I think the kind of the key point is not all of them address this. However, the most common approach that the ones that do address it is they usually give oversight of the internal auditor to a committee such of town legislatures or a BOF equivalent.
Got it.
So benchmarking would imply that we probably should make the change.
Makes sense.
Could we look at Ms. Charlton's comments
Yes.
next, please?
Hers are here, where she. Yes,
Why can't I find the finance department? Oh, there it is, 9.5.
so this is Charlton's input
Specifically say what.
and
There's a conflict.
broadly she agrees that it should be changed. The audit, it should be independent of the fiscal officer.
She doesn't explicitly say what it should be, she just says what it shouldn't be.
Right, this includes performing audits, let's see. Currently the internal auditor. Yeah, there's also, she also addresses the
CFO.
I'm trying to look for the, I don't know if anyone knows where it is, but where the internal auditor
Well,
is
she
addressed.
does make a recommendation, actually. I do believe the CRC should address this by ensuring that the charter establishes some type of independent reporting relationship to the Board of Finance.
Yep, that's what I thought through our audit subcommittee, right?
Yeah, and then has some other aspects and so,
There we go, yeah.
I mean, you figure out the language, but
Internal auditor is 9.15.
9.1?
M.
9.15,
Oh, 15.
appointed by the Board of Selectmen.
Well, it's not so much the reporting, it's the appointing, it's the
That's right.
reporting, right?
It's under the duties, right?
End of the duties.
Under the duties, it says that the internal auditor shall report on a regular basis to the fiscal officer.
So that's the problem right there. It's report to.
And the audit committee? The board committee?
Most Fortune 500 companies, the internal audit function reports directly to the audit committee of the board
Yes.
directors, which would be analogous to the Board of Finance.
Well, actually, it would be analogous to the audit subcommittee of the Board of Finance.
Exactly right, but the Board of Finance.
Yep.
Correct.
Mhm.
this allows the internal auditor to maintain complete independence.
Yes, that's key.
Right.
Totally agree.
So number two should come
Consider
out.
should report to like.
Or say, regular reports to the audit committee, maybe instead of the fiscal officer.
See, 9.15 B3, there's a requirement to make reports to the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance semi-annually. So the Board of Finance would call the internal auditor in, twice a year, say, what's going on, what audits are you working on? If it was anything particularly contentious, it would go into executive session, right? So that, I think that would remain, but I think B2 is the issue. But I guess I'm stuck on the word report. What does that word report mean, right? So every day, today, the internal auditor shows up for work and she looks at the CFO and says, that's my boss, right? And for the everyday workings of the office, I mean, that's fine. But for internal auditing purposes,
One idea is
That's
you
not fine,
you
right?
could use language similar to the police chief or fire chief, where there's a supervision section. And they say they report to the first selectman on matters of administration and operation and to the police commission on matters of policy. I mean, the equivalent there of something like reporting to the Board of Finance, but then the Board of Finance probably is not gonna provide day-to-day supervision.
I like where you're going with that, because then that covers the administrative portion of the job.
Mhm.
And then that covers the internal one, so.
So, Mr. Chairman, just coming back to 9.5 fiscal officer and controller. Under 9.5B1, the fiscal officer will establish and supervise a central accounting and internal auditing system.
That's right.
The Fiscal officer determines what the report on regular basis the fiscal officer under 9.15 would be. It seems to me. So we would have to,
Yeah.
if you want to take that out, then you go back and somehow exclude the direct daily oversight of the fiscal officer,
Yeah,
auditor.
I agree with Jerry. If you even give the administrative function of the internal auditor to the
Yeah.
fiscal officer, the fiscal officer then is responsible for that person's performance and their pay. So that
On a daily
opens them,
basis.
they lose their independence, right? Because it
Yeah.
makes them ripe for retaliation.
no, that's a really good point. So, to Commissioner McHenry's comment on 9.5B1, I think that refers to the system in place, not the person. So there's some language in here that I hope we're gonna change, that says the Board of Finance has to approve the system to do the every 5-year auditing of our homes and stuff like that, which is absolutely ridiculous, and I hope we change that. I think what that means is that you have to make the fiscal officer has to make sure there's the tools in place for the auditor to do his or her job. Not administrate the person. I think that just says, I have to hand you a bunch of tools for you to do your job. I think that's what because it says internal auditing system. But
I think that's your interpretation of what it says, and maybe that's the practice, but certainly it could be interpreted to say something else, right?
that is a true statement. So let me just ask the question a different way on the internal auditor. So I think we all agree that the internal auditor should report to the Board of Finance for the Board of Finance Audit Subcommittee for all auditing things. If that person does that, where do they report to administratively? And I agree with Commissioner Biagini, it's a conflict, right? You're my boss and you can, there could be some way of compromise there. I think it would have to be the first selectman. I don't know who. And then what if she's writing an internal audit about the first selectman? So,
Right.
I would argue it has to be to the audit subcommittee of the Board of Finance.
Who does her-
the responsibility for the administration of the internal auditor function office person should not rest with anyone who works for the town of Fairfield.
So just for point of clarification, the Board of Finance Audit Subcommittee is a bunch of elected people on the Board of Finance, and then a bunch of appointed people by the chairman to a subcommittee. So much to Commissioner Hoag's point she just made, which you probably guys didn't probably hear. Who does her report? Who does her yearly review? Who makes sure she shows up, her person shows up at work every day? It's not that subcommittee, I can tell you that, because they don't live in town hall.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of what I was going out on the supervision piece.
HR?
But
So HR is potential. See, I'm tracking, Jane, I'm tracking with you right away, but I mean, isn't it kind of unless you go to an external entity, is it kind of impossible to take everyone out of the audit trail?
Jane, what happens in a corporation in terms of this question? Like, who does an internal auditor report to at a staff level?
So there is a head of internal audit who does report directly to the board of directors, and the compensation committee, typically of a board of directors, manages the administration of that entity. Now, I realize that's not the way municipalities necessarily work. So I really can't answer the question, but what I can really be adamant about is if an internal auditor reports to anyone that they potentially are in the position of auditing, that's a conflict.
Yeah, I'm with you. I guess what's the
I'd be
equivalent of the
curious
board
what
of directors in a
towns do.
municipality?
Board of
Board of
Selectmen.
Selectmen, right?
Maybe it's the board of selectmen.
Yeah, again, in the problem with this discussion is the auditing function is kind of easy. When handed to the Board of Committee, the Board of Finance Subcommittee, and and if there's an audit, an adverse audit written about absolutely anybody, to the first selectman, then that subcommittee can handle it. But the problem is there isn't a day-to-day maintenance of the employee that has to be served by some function. And since we don't have a board, I don't think the Board of Selectmen is gonna do their performance reviews.
should we ask the HR director?
I just wrote myself a note to maybe ask HR and the
What the advice is and that, I mean, because I think we're all agreeing that conceptually, matters of policy should report to the Board of Finance. Right? I think so. And so then it's a matter, the question though is, to your point, the Board of Finance is not gonna write the review.
Maybe we can ask our town attorney, because he's certainly himself sat on other charter revision commissions. He's very involved in municipalities outside of Fairfield. Maybe he can guide us as to what other towns do.
It's a good idea.
I'm curious,
Looking at me.
9:15 we're talking about, right? Page 56. I'm curious what the other commission did, if they were at any revelations. What was it, 9:15, right?
Yes.
9:15. I'm just having a tough time finding this thing. This says that 9:15 should. Internal auditor. Sorry, guys. Oh, there it is. Page 47 of the. They didn't do a thing. They still have them making a regular report to the chief, okay. Waste of time. Okay, I'm gonna ask that question of the first selectman, the town attorney, and HR.
There's a municipal internal auditors association. Say.
So we have a follow-up question on that one.
We have 3 left in the checks and balances, the compensation changes for selectmen, filling resignations, independent counsel for town bodies.
Meetings last a long time. They do, they last too long.
Okay, let's dig into this compensation changes. That was a board of, that was a.
Yes, I'll bring it up.
What number was it?
Number 18.
Yeah. Define the process for determining the compensation of the first selectman and selectmen. The process for determining the compensation should be. Yeah, so, what happens today is there's a subcommittee that meets to determine the increase to the selectmen. I've sat on it once or twice. It was 2 people from the Board of Finance and 2 people from the RTM. And in fact, I sat on it with Sharon Pistilli, yes, and Pam, and I can't remember the other person. Oh, might have been Matola, actually. I think it was Matola. Yeah, because Matola and I were the 2 parties on the right. And without a lot of process, I might add, we would say, oh yeah, first selectman should get 10% increase, or let's make them make the person pay more for their insurance. There's absolutely no process around it. I can tell you that.
I did ask Sharon tonight, and I shouldn't, just to get her input, and
Yeah.
she said that they should ask for, what's the word, benchmarking from HR. That, maybe we need to.
We did do some benchmarking the last one I sat on, we did benchmark another municipality. There was some benchmarking, but I guess what Bill's point is that it's covered nowhere. It's kind of best practice that we've just done for so long, and yeah.
Yeah.
And I know he says something in here too, I believe, about the 2 other select persons, that, or if you're not the first select person, I guess it's more of a stipend than anything, but it is a quote unquote salary, but it's not much more than a stipend. And so I guess what he's saying is it would be good to add something in here. In addition, article of the Connecticut prohibits increases in compensation during their term unless they occur after 2 years of the term. So it appears as if there are guidelines in Article 11. What's that squiggly line called? Section, thank you. Wow, seems like a weird section 2 of the Connecticut state it put some prohibitions around it. I know that subcommittee, if you will, meets every 2 years. I don't know if I'm assuming it correlates with the 2-year restriction, because it says you can't get an increase in compensation until you have 2 years of your term. I mean, I'm certainly willing to make a motion that we need to add a process on first selectman and board of selectmen compensation. Frankly, I don't know what it would be or where it would be,
There
but
was no benchmarking on this kind of thing, right?
we can certainly ask Representative Pistilli to help us out here, maybe give us a little, but I don't think, I guess we don't have any intern benchmarking.
We do, but
Oh.
it's not definitive.
Okay.
That's what this is here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought that was Bill's comment, I
Yeah,
apologize.
this is the intern benchmarking here where
Fairfield's uncertainty is not an outlier.
so it's not a lot of clarity.
Geez, in Darien, the compensation is fixed by the Board of Finance in the annual budget. Which it technically is, but but the increases are, every 2 years, what happens is the subcommittee says to the Board of Finance, hey, we'd like to increase the first selectman's pay by 2%, making up a number or whatever. And then that ends up being an input into the budget book, but. So, okay, I'll make that motion to add a new section that details the compensation structure for the first selectman and the board of selectmen, details to be fleshed out with some benchmarking.
I'll second that.
But I guess the benchmarking, we have some benchmarking here and there isn't a benchmark really.
I'd say we have an ad hoc process.
No, he's saying the
I
We
got
don't have a
you.
lot of benchmarking.
Oh, I got you, yeah.
So I'm not sure what the benchmarking would be.
So maybe contact CCM and see.
Yeah, that's where I would probably go, CCM, Connecticut, county municipalities,
Conference.
conference of municipalities, thank you.
There's no CCM.
I know, some acronyms become so ubiquitous that you don't even, remember, right? We have a motion and a second, is there any discussion about this? I know it's a little high level, but
That's all we have right now.
yeah, I think that's all we got, right? Okay.
We need a process. But we have to develop one and we're gonna contact the CCM. to
CCM, yep,
Figure it out, okay.
excellent, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Yeah, I don't know what more we could do than that, but I think it's definitely a good thing to do.
I'm sorry, can I ask a question? I was locked outside. I wasn't thankfully because I was running from this door to that door. But anyway, did you make a motion for the internal auditor?
Like 10 of them. Did we make, I don't think we made any specific internal.
Yeah, I just.
No, you know why? Because I think we have more questions than
Okay.
that we have to,
And answers.
than answer.
Yeah, how
In
it's-
principle, I think we know, but we didn't make any motions, though.
We just don't know who they should report to.
Filling vacancies. Goodness. How vacancies from resignations are filled, for what term, should the vacancy process be standardized? Oh, excuse
I
me,
thought it was,
I thought it was pretty standard myself.
yeah.
I know one question that's asked is if somebody runs for office and as soon as they're elected, they resign and someone gets appointed.
Oh.
And then they stay the whole term until the next election, like, should we fix that? That has happened.
And they,
As
and they knew,
constantly,
and they
Yeah.
knew that they weren't gonna do the term. That's the
Right.
part that's kind of sneaky.
or people leave early to get 2 years under their belt, even though they haven't been elected, and they say, I've been on the board for 2 years.
Yeah. So I guess one question is whether we should require a special election in some cases or in every case, if.
Yeah,
I think it's
or-
expensive.
Yeah, at what point in the term, like maybe if they resign after whatever, I don't know.
yeah. Yeah. I guess what determines the process, if a person, I'll just use the Board of Finance, you have a person who is 3 years into their 6-year Board of Finance term and they say, oh, I have to leave, for personal reasons, and they're a Republican. The process goes back to the Republican Town Committee and they recommend someone. That recommendation goes to the Board of Selectmen, and they go, yep, looks like this person is, kind of qualified, even though he's been elected. And then that person would be a member of the Board of Finance, appointed until the next election, then they're forced to run for the remaining 2-year term or whatever.
Only
don't
until
fill
the
out the
next
term.
municipal election?
The next municipal election.
That makes sense.
I believe that's the case with the Board of Finance and the Board of Education. I was a political appointee for 6 months before 2007
And then
election.
and then you ran even though other.
I ran in the
members-
2007, I got appointed in July and I ran in November,
Hmm.
because that's when the next election was. The person's term who I was replacing was not up then.
Hmm.
So instead of having 3 people on the board, that's where this gets hairy.
Yeah.
Two people resign and now you got 5 people running, that's when, and then you have to then it turns into the minority majority whole thing, right?
Right.
Have to give people a short or long term. or something.
Right,
Stagger it.
right. So,
It's better than a special election.
Yes.
so I guess we could look at, I don't know what the specific comments were made by, unless you do,
Well, I think the question probably gets to section 6.3, vacancies on the Board of Selectmen. 6.3A deals with long-term illness or disability, and my quickly is like, okay, that's fine. It's defining how long, so essentially 4 months counts as 4 months of not being able to do the job counts as a vacancy.
4 consecutive months. Yep, right, I think
The B, I think the point there is that it doesn't require, what I'm reading here is it does not require a special election.
absolutely doesn't.
That then, exactly, there can be a vacancy 1 month into the 4-year term, and then we don't have a chance to reelect or choose a successor electorally for almost 4 years. So I think the question could be more of, should we require essentially an election, either a special election or at the next municipal election, which presumably would not be 4 years from, it would be every
Maybe
2 or is there
2
every year?
years.
Is there
Every 2 years.
Every 2, right?
Every 2 years.
That'd be an improvement then, to at least get it to 2 years,
Yeah.
the maximum of a vacancy of an unelected.
And then that person could only then run for the amount of the term that's left. Because the next
I
time,
guess that's a
the next
question.
time you get to a municipal election, especially for the Board of Selectmen, you don't wanna be like, oh, 2 of you guys are running, but because you
Right,
came in,
yeah, to fulfill the
then
remaining.
there's manipulation.
Yeah.
So it's gotta be, so I guess what the point is, so you're elected to the Board of Selectmen for a 4-year term, and unfortunately, in the first year, you fall ill and you can't perform your duties. Person's put in place, and that person could serve, in theory, for 3 years without ever having been elected.
Right.
And I guess the question is, do we wanna put a process in that says, no, you have to have a special, and what is a special election? We have enough trouble getting people to come out and vote for.
Yeah, go, maybe your suggestion of the next municipal election, then you're not doing the expensive special election.
Right.
Right.
With the addition to Chris's point of just the remainder of the term.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what Ms. Griffin made a comment, and I think,
I mean, I think the point is, on Ms. Griffin's, I can share it, it's on, share.
oh, here it is.
Yeah.
If you
so-
keep 4-year terms, fix the language around filling vacancies when terms. went to, oh, yeah, cause she's an advocate of keeping it at 2 years, so.
Right, so
For the
her,
2-year term, you're like, okay, how long is it gonna be?
her point is you went to 4 years, but didn't change the vacancy language, so therefore now vacancies can be filled for 4 years.
So what happens if the first selectman resigns or is ill? The member of that first selectman's party chooses to become first selectman, and then that first selectman's party chooses the filler for the select person. Would we have the members of the single party up for re-election in the next 2-year term?
No,
You'd have-
no, I think what happens, we've had one occasion, right? When Mr. Flato left, he left with a term that,
Sherry?
Sherry Stenick. There was a big debate about if Sherry
Right.
Stenick would just, Sherry Stenick was the second selectman, if you will. And then she became first selectman by virtue of the fact that she was of the same party as the first select person
Already on the board.
and already on the board. And
Right.
then a political appointee was put in place to backfill Ms. Stenick.
Correct. Now,
Which
you have
follows.
that, now you have those two people. Do they stand for election at the next election of the RTM if the resignation occurs in the first couple of months or the first year of the first selectman's term?
The way the charter's written, no, they do
Right.
not.
That's right.
But we're debating whether they should.
I understand that. That's what the charter is written doesn't say that they would, but we're discussing having an election, and now you look at that complication.
Yeah, I think that's correct, Commissioner Hoag. I would say only person that would have to be up for the next municipal election would be the appointed person.
But not the person who was like Sherry moving into the first selectman position.
Oh, I
wouldn't,
see your point.
Because she was elected but not to first select.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Because the first selectman is the one that gets the most votes.
Right.
No, you have to run for first selectman.
Yeah.
You have to run for two people run for first selectman. You can become second selectman with getting you can,
Third most
the
votes.
second most votes or the third most votes. The person who doesn't get it is the one with the fourth most votes. But if Christine Vitale got more votes than Bill Gerber, she would not have been first select person.
Correct.
You have to run for first selectman.
Had to run for first selectman.
The other two are up for grabs based on the total.
So did Sherry move into it by some virtue of law, or did people all agree that she would move into it?
Who
She was
did?
appointed.
Well, it went to court.
You can say according to the charter, it's written here with
I don't remember
if
that.
you're on, it specifically says if you're on the first, if
Kevin
you're
Kiley
on the
thing.
board and you move into the first selectman role,
That was a
I'm wrong.
special.
that's allowed.
No, I'm wrong.
No.
Then you have
Okay.
to appoint a new replacement. for
Okay,
that person.
so the appointed, I see.
So I'm wrong.
Hmm.
Sherry Stenick was put in place as first select person on an interim basis. And the big problem was they elected, the DTC saw fit to put Mike Tetro in as first selectman, and the big debate was,
Oh.
wait a minute, do you get to pick first selectman or do you get to pick a selectman? And
Oh,
it didn't go to court. That was the Kevin Kiley thing. You're absolutely right. So I guess that answers the question. The party of the person leaving, if it's first selectman, gets to appoint the next first selectman. On an interim basis, Selectman Stenick stepped in just to run the function, and then for,
I mean, technically, it's, they're designated by the remaining selectmen, but they must be registered in the same political party.
Right.
right.
Clearly, there'd be consultation, I get it.
Right. But the point, right, so we beat this to death, but I think the point is still valid, that there needs to be some addition of language. So let's see. So let's see, 6.3A. I was unable to change it. Okay, so I'll make a motion under 6.3A. Oh, sorry, 6.3B.
Just in the benchmarking, Westport, so
Mm.
if the first selectman's office is vacant, the remaining selectman and the finance director together serve as a board. As a board is acting as first selectman. until a
Jesus.
Special election fills the vacancy.
You don't want a special, right?
That's complicated.
Mm.
It's also expensive.
So, okay, let me try this. I'll make a motion. 6.3B, after the first sentence, which is, starts with method of filling vacancies. It says shall be, I think if we add, so it says method of filling vacancies in a board of selectmen, at any time a vacancy occurs in a board of selectmen, including first selectman, a replacement who shall be registered with the political party as the person vacating the office shall be designated by the remaining selectmen. And I guess I would add until the next municipal election or until, and will remain in office until a special election occurring at the next municipal election.
That's not then that's not a special election.
No, I wouldn't call it a special. The next-
Special election is when it doesn't occur in sequence. with a regular-
Sorry. So the next municipal election, right? Would remain in and the appointee would remain in place until the next
They
municipal
were pretty
election.
careful to not tread on this is, the special election process is pretty specific in the statutes, and I think they were pretty careful in this section to not tread on that statutory ground of the special election. Like, it doesn't say that you can't have a temporary, but it also says that a special election should occur as soon as,
As soon as-
reasonably practical. I mean, it's a very long provision. I won't read it to you, but it's very specific as to when a special election.
General statute.
Yeah,
No, I guess that was the point that I made before. I said we can't get people out for regular elections, but we're in a special election. I think that's why we were kind of deferring to the next municipal election.
Mhm.
And we're saying that, that we, in the case of the first selectman, and you bring in one of the sitting selectmen becomes the first selectman, then the next election, only the new appointed selectman would be up for election, not the first selectman.
Yeah, so it's.
Only the person, so I guess I would say it this way. If the first selectman leaves and I appoint Karen Wackerman as being the first selectman, then you'd have to rerun for first selectman at the next municipal election. If the second selectman left and we appointed Karen Wackerman as second selectman, you'd have to run a second selectman at the next municipal election.
Like in the Sherry example,
I would say then they would have had whoever was, if they put Mike Tetro in as second selectman, he would have had to run during a municipal election,
not her.
not her.
Yeah.
No, because
She's already elected.
she's elected for 4 years.
Yeah. She's
know?
already elected.
So it's a designee, as they put
Yeah.
it.
I mean, technically she's not elected to first selectman, but that's a whole different kind of.
What if we said something along the lines of any person appointed to the Board of Selectmen to fulfill a vacancy during the first half of the term must stand for reelection or must stand to be elected for the remainder of the term at the next municipal election? Something like that.
Mhm.
I'll second that. That's much better than I said.
Did you get that?
Yeah. Did you get it?
Come on, Prue. said that much better.
Wait, did you type it? And well, it's recorded, I'll just listen to it.
That was well done, though.
No, I'll second that, though. I think that's perfect. Yeah, because if it's in the third or fourth year, guess what? It ain't happening, right? It's just gonna
Because
be.
the next municipal
The election is the real election, right? Okay, motion's made and seconded. Any other discussion? Anyone online? Okay, I'm good. I'm good. Well, now so yeah, that's just one of the things, but we can get to the last one. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Should the vacancy process be, so the last part is, should the vacancy processes be standardized? Oh, sorry. I thought the comment was that we didn't have a good process for Board of Ed and Board of Finance, but I think we've just done that.
Yeah.
Well, that was technically,
That was Susie and Mishka.
You have to make sure the BOE and the BOF are, and maybe other.
yeah, do they fill vacancies the same way?
Absolutely the same way.
The education.
I
and
think,
finance too?
the way I'm reading this is that the that's the standard that we should be ascribing. So again, Board of Education is a perfect example. You're elected to a 4-year term. And in your first year or second year, or your third year for that matter, you have to leave for some reason. There's a political appointee put in place, and you have to run at the next municipal election. That's the process that exists today.
Finance does the same thing, it's just different
Same,
numbers
same.
because of different.
Same.
numbers.
Maybe every board or commission with a term more than 2 years should
Yeah.
have this. Every election.
So you're saying we should prefix this with all boards that have 4 years or more.
Or more than 2 years.
Well, let's see what the 8.1 say. There may be a section that addresses that already, 8.1.
There might be.
Yeah. Just make them all 4 years, Karen, we won't have that problem.
So in section 8, elected boards and commissions, 8.1C, vacancies, a vacancy in the membership of any elected board or commission shall be filled in the manner prescribed in section 2.5 of this charter. What does 2.5 say?
See section 3. No.
Then it says, except as provided in section 6.3 for the board of selectmen, which we just discussed. And in section 2.6G with RTM, then it talks about how these are all.
Yeah, perfect. See, the vacancy shall be filled at the next town election if the vacancy occurs prior to the time in which nominations can be made under the state statutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are.
So basically-
consistent.
And it also says that the Board of Selectmen the Board of Selectmen technically has to fill the vacancies with a recommendation.
Yeah.
One more,
There's more?
one more in checks and balances if we want to finish it. Independent counsel for town bodies.
We talked about it for ethics, right?
We said yes.
And we have seen on RTM times when we wish we had independent counsel. I think if the town attorney was a fixed job and not a political appointment, there'd be less need for it. And I think.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying, yeah.
Catherine Braun, I think.
Yeah, Kathy, I was just reading in Selectmen, former Selectman, from, said it would be separate legal counsel for RTM. The RTM is a legislative branch and as such must be advised by its own legal counsel. So I guess my only question there is that, are we overstepping the boundaries of the charter? I mean, does Kathy Braun want us to add that the RTM gets I guess on the legal section, there's a separate counsel for RTM and.
Yeah, this has come up a lot with ordinances because we have to ask the town council to help us with ordinances, and that can be very time consuming sometimes. So that's come up with that primarily, but so we've often wished we had access to
You
our.
mean the town attorney?
The town attorney.
Okay, yeah, okay, yeah.
We've often wished we had access to our own attorney who was dedicated to this and could help us with that, so.
Would that be cheaper? Why would it be any?
Well, it was, yeah.
I don't get the.
We didn't always get the attention we needed under
Oh, so
prior
it's that, it's not
administrations.
the amount of money, it's time.
Maybe-
Yeah.
I might be oversimplifying this, but I think it's just a budget.
It is a budget, exactly.
You
We have
get
no
a
budget.
$50,000 budget every year for the RTM to have a separate legal counsel, independent of the town attorney
Yes,
to address, yeah.
wouldn't that be nice?
Is why I'm against political appointments.
Yeah.
For most of these positions.
Yeah.
But that's another.
No, it's true, which kind of relates to the whole term, the term
Well,
question ending.
I don't disagree with that statement, but I gotta tell you, I don't care who the town attorney was and who he or she was appointed by. That's a daunting job, right? So to think that you could just glom on everything that the RTM might my need for, you know, I think, you know, but I understand your comment. So I guess my only question is, how do we do that in the charter? Do we, is that even a charter thing? It doesn't
Maybe
feel like it
that-
is, but.
Well, maybe
My-
just, go ahead, sorry, Jerry.
My question is, I understand that the RTM might have some sense that they need their own attorney. I saw this concept coming up early on, and it kind of concerned me that everybody probably thinks they need their own attorney. And there's a lot of money being flushed out the door
Slippery slope, yeah.
paying attorneys. Is it the position of the RTM that they're not getting good legal counsel? Is it the position of the RTM that as a legislative body, they should have identified their own lawyer because their needs are paramount? I don't get it.
Well, I think that
the timing.
it is fair to say we didn't always have the legal counsel we needed. I think right now we do, but you know, we'd have to wait or we wouldn't get, we may not, you know, I don't wanna say any.
It's a timing thing,
It's
right?
timing and it's quality and it's attentiveness.
Yeah.
And if we feel like we're really not getting that, it's good if we could send it to another lawyer to look at or something, but.
I mean, let's not forget, the only obstacle to getting this commission put into place was approving a budget for a lawyer. The only reason. Everyone's like, yeah, go do it. Wait a minute, you want money for a lawyer? I don't know, right? So, I mean, let's just be clear, right? You know, everyone realized that.
Everything's easy without a budget item.
That's right. Exactly right. But just remember that the, I don't want to use the word opposition, but at least the fiscal opposition to this was, you know, you gotta have a separate lawyer. Do you have to have a separate lawyer? I think we do, you know? So,
Yeah.
What I was just kind of looking through the feedback provided, it seems like there's several people who've talked about separate legal counsel for RTM.
Yeah.
Also a couple for TBZ and then one for inland wetlands, I think it was.
Right.
Probably.
There was-
So
There's a
those,
lot of people asking.
Even ethics, like what if
Definitely ethics.
what if ethics was performing an investigation on the first selectman's office and the attorney they were using is the appointee of the first selectman?
we already agreed
Nothing
on
against
that.
Bill, but it's.
what's against the town attorney?
We already
Right, I
agreed
mean.
on the ethics, I think,
Yeah,
that they would have,
I think we did
They're,
too.
yeah. we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jerry's point's valid. This is a slippery slope. You could be, I don't disagree with the fact that it would be nice to have a separate counsel, but it would beg the question, you know?
does the budgeting work where if the RTM had a budget, I don't even know if they have a
We
budget,
do not have.
They don't have a budget.
they don't have a budget at all.
That's illegal.
Okay, got it. So they couldn't reallocate. Do any, like, does TPZ have a budget?
Yeah, but we have a
No,
legal
because
budget
they
for
have-
the
They have
town.
a department. We're the only, I think the only.
How does the
body that has
RTM not have a
department.
budget?
We have no budget.
Yeah.
There's a little money allocated to the town clerk for.
Commissions
for-
have
but it's
budgets.
not in our budget line. We're the only, I think we're the only entity that
Yeah.
doesn't, because every other commission or board is connected to a department
Right.
or a function. We have nothing.
Yeah,
So like during the pandemic, I had no money, I was moderator, I had no money to hire somebody to run the meetings for us on, you know, Zoom and stuff, and we were trying to figure it out. In all the other departments, they were doing it for their boards and commissions.
yeah,
It's kind of crazy, really.
yeah. But yeah, there
That's
is
the
no
thing that needs to be addressed then.
Most boards don't.
Specifically, the services that you're hiring, the fact that you're allowed to have a budget
Mhm.
that's set by the BOF and.
Well, most board, but like I said, Board of Finance, we never, we had, I don't even, I wanna call it a budget, but if there was something that we, so let's just say the Board of Finance said, I wanna perform an external, we did this, I wanna perform an external audit of the town. And we went through the budget process, we said we need $50,000 to perform an external audit. We put that in, you know, and we used that money, but we had no operating budget. The only budget we had actually was for a recording secretary, and you guys don't even have that, right?
No, we don't.
No.
But you have the finance department doing a lot of
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
staff stuff for you.
Right,
and we
and
don't-
Board of Education is the same way, they have a whole central staff doing stuff for them. You don't have, you're right, you're not associated with any.
Town clerk, but she's got very limited responsibilities and she's wonderful, but you know,
Yeah.
she's.
So is independent counsel prohibited right now, or is it just the, like, or just that it's not done because?
It's
of the
a
money?
fiscal issue, I'd go on record as saying it's a fiscal issue more.
And I guess do we even have the authority to unilaterally, we would need, I think, express authority to unilaterally hire our own lawyer or staff or anything like that. I don't know if you're taking public comment, but Ms. Zimmerman might have thoughts on this too.
Yes.
I was gonna take it at the end, but if you'd like to comment now, sure.
Appreciate that.
On this topic, yes?
Yes. All this time to talk on this topic. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Liz Esma, RTM District 4. So I do think that there's two issues here. One is the amount of time that a town attorney can allocate depending on what's happening within the scope of their duties. So one thought I had, and I'm not sure if it belongs codified in the charter, but if you are hiring a firm versus a sole proprietor, you would have access to other counsel, right, within a law firm.
Mhm.
And that's the case now with Cohen and Wolf. Jill Vergara who reports to Phil, is helping us with an ordinance. So that is one concept of how to have the resources we need. And then separately would be that, do we want to establish a budget line or a budget, if you will, for the RTM to utilize counsel? You know, we're very fortunate. We usually have, I would say, at least 5 attorneys who are members of the RTM.
Mhm.
But that isn't quite the same thing as the kind of legal counsel that we could use in forming ordinances. And to somebody's question earlier, you know, a lot of bodies and boards and commissions may like to have some legal support, but we are the lawmakers.
Yeah.
That is a totally different realm. So, and then my final comment is, it's one of the reasons I'm not crazy about the town attorney being a political appointment. I know that's an awkward terminology, so I don't mean that they're appointed for political gain. I mean, just that, you know, it's at the whim, the purview, the pleasure of whoever is elected to office. And I would prefer to see that be a more independent, professional hire, but for a number of reasons. And I don't care which party we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like the CFO. You wanna know what the problem with the auditor is? Because the CFO is practically a political appointment. You wanna solve the problem with the auditor? Change that.
Okay.
But that's another discussion. So anyway,
I think there's a reporting structure problem with the
Yeah,
auditor for sure, but yeah.
Our legal needs, you know, are dynamic, they're not static, and we don't know at any given year, within our term, that town attorney just may not have the bandwidth. So,
Yeah.
you know, even if we had a budget, who would we be hiring? That's why I like that concept
Well,
of
yeah,
of a firm that has, you know, more resources available to us.
right.
Not that that's easy either, because not a lot of firms do municipal work. I mean, there's all kinds of complications here.
Yeah.
But
But I mean, you're kind of lucky, right? That Phil Pierce comes with Cohen and Wolf, right?
Mhm.
Kind of
right,
comes along with, you know,
That's why he was probably.
well, that was, I'm sure, a consideration. But I guess much to that point, do you want that to be the consideration for the town attorney? So you have an independent attorney, who works all by himself, he could be the greatest town attorney ever. He doesn't come with a 4-person,
right,
know,
right.
bench, if you will, right? Even though it's great and it seems to be working out. And then the only other point that I would bring up just for consideration is, whenever we've gotten, and I'll say we as, RTM, major boards, Board of Ed, when we really, because we didn't have a legal budget either. When we knew there was something coming down, it was really gonna be contentious, we went to the town attorney, we said, yeah, you guys gotta figure this out. And it was always the responsibility of the town attorney to say, yeah, I shouldn't be doing this, I need to get it into a special, and sometimes it's a specialized thing, like with the remediation, stuff like that. And then it came back to the Board of Finance and said, okay, now give me money. So there is always that process in place. Something was really onerous going on in the RTM. And you're like, I need a lawyer, and I need $50,000. You could go to the Board of Finance and say, can I get $50,000 for an attorney through the legal office, right? I know it's not perfect, but.
My last comment, if I could make one more.
Yeah,
Mr.
please.
Chairman, on the subject of attorneys, so this body in particular, this commission in particular, we had Attorney Mednick last time and the question of whether you should have one this time. My only thought about that is if for literally every section and aspect of this charter, if we know if there's a corresponding statute. I mean, do you have the
We've addressed that.
institutional knowledge here and I'm coming in late to the game, so apologies on that.
And we do have a dedicated attorney,
Okay.
and we're utilizing, and he's Cone Wolf too, right? Yeah, just complete coincidence. But Jason's dedicated to us, and he's more than available. What the way this commission has approached it is when we have questions, we bring him in, he answers our questions, and and we'll let him go.
Yeah, I did see that right up. Anyway, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you for the comment.
The town of Fairfield's also getting to the point where it's hardly a town anymore. And I mean, I think we'll see this across a lot of the things that we're reviewing that I think what you're, I mean, I was a town attorney, in-house town attorney for 15 years.
Right.
I may be a little bit biased on this, but we had an attorney at every single ordinance committee meeting of the city council, staff attorney at every single, and
they're on salary?
That's not,
Salary, not billable hours.
No,
Okay.
in-house civil servant.
Yeah.
We have 5.
Yeah.
5 in-house. Obviously, that's a lot, that town is a lot bigger at whatever, 100,000, but what are we now, 60, 65? I mean, I think it's just, what we're seeing is we're just getting to the point where it's like kind of outgrowing our shoes a little bit,
I think
Yeah.
that's right. Mhm.
No, that's an interesting perspective.
Obviously, adding a new person, I mean, that's with the benefits, that's a big decision.
Yeah.
It's a hefty decision,
Not
but
up to us.
at some point, it's gotta
I
be.
think that's right. I
Right.
think we're
Addressed.
getting close to that.
So for me on this topic, I question whether this is a charter topic.
Because it's not prohibited.
It is not prohibited, right?
Well, how would we have the authority to hire a lawyer?
The process of.
It's not permitted, I guess, it's really.
Because of the budget.
Well, it's budget, but also, can I sign the engagement letter with the lawyer as somebody on the RTM, like?
Yeah, see, this is the problem with the RTM, right? The RTM has no budget. If you look at a budget book, there's a finance line item, there's a Board of Finance budget line item, you can go, it's small. There's nothing that says RTM. So they have no budget. So anything that the RTM wants to spend money on has to be a request through the Board of Selectmen, through the Board of Finance. So it's not prohibited, but at the same point, it's not supported.
Yeah.
Right. But there's a process in place for you to get money if you needed it, even though might not be too expeditious, right?
Where would we find that in the charter though?
I don't know.
That's my whole point. If we all agree this is the greatest thing ever, where would we even put it? And
Well,
No,
it's.
You're saying it's not in the charter, right?
Well,
It's not in the charter now, for sure.
Well, if we go back to Shell though,
Yeah.
But that way.
Well, it's just a budgetary process.
But in 9.3, town attorney.
Assistance,
C,
right.
Duties, the town attorney shall, paragraph 1, be the legal advisor of and counsel and attorney for the town and all town departments, town officials, yada, yada. So it's saying shall, technically, I guess it is really prohibiting it in a way, right?
Well, no, I think what that does is it makes any entity in town have to go through the town attorney
Right.
for a recommendation.
How would we even do that? The moderator would do that? I mean, no, there's really no mechanism for the RTM to do that. Other departments might, like, we need, PP&Z needs, I don't know, something for the commission.
The commission
The
moves forward.
department would probably
What's that?
for it, but
What's that provision?
9.3
I know it's late.
C1.
No, but I just,
Thank you.
So I'm trying to think, I wanna make sure that I wasn't telling something else. The Board of Finance had requested legal support on a particular topic outside of the budget process. But I don't know, I think we just kind of called the town attorney to a meeting and said, hey, here's a problem, here's what we think should happen. And should you handle it? And
Because the town attorney has like a budget for external legal counsel. I assume.
there is a internal and an external pension budget line, yeah, for sure.
Mr. Chairman, under the legislative branch, 4.1, representative town meeting, legislative powers, if we were to consider that the RTM has its own attorney, why doesn't it have the legislative power to hire an attorney for its usage? You enable the RTM to hire their own lawyer, if that's what we think the charter should say.
So you're saying under 4.1 where it says all legislative power of the town, including the power to enact ordinances, comma, hire legal counsel, enter hire legal counsel.
I mean,
Shall be vested in your-
somewhere in there, provide enabling language that gives the RTM the power to hire its own lawyer. And then it has to go to the Board of Finance to get the money. I mean,
I think it's 9.4 assistance. No, I mean, obviously, the way this is 9.4 is drafted, you may have a problem because it gives the power to the Board of Selectmen with the consent of the RTM. But I think the spirit was there, whoever drafted this, which is you got a town attorney, eventually he's gonna be inundated, he or she, excuse me. You're gonna need more bodies.
Actually, I've been told that there used to be an assistant town attorney who was seconded to the RTM among other.
Yes, it was a lady, Eileen Kennelly, that's right. Eileen
So
Kennelly.
they did have a lawyer who was on the staff,
Yeah,
and
that's
also
right,
did-
Eileen Kennelly, right.
Yeah. So maybe that's again a budget issue that, I don't know. But we don't have, you know.
So,
that was-
so let me just ask one more clarifying question.
Yeah.
Do you think are we saying that you wanna have, the RTM wants to have the ability to ask for legal counsel or to pay for legal counsel? Because I think we could easily add language, and I would be supportive of it, just like Jerry said under 4.1, say, yeah, well, they should be able to ask for legal counsel anytime they want. You might get rejected by, the Board of Selectmen might go, no, I'm not gonna give you that money. You wouldn't have the fiduciary power, but you'd have the, what's the word I'm looking for, the initiating power?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it would be nice if we had what Eileen Kennelly was. I mean, she was just available to the RTM as their lawyer, from what I understand. Were you?
Yeah.
involved in
Yeah, that was,
It doesn't feel like a charter thing though.
No, it would be.
I
it would
keep
be
coming back, I
taking
keep
this-
coming back around to this,
It
yeah.
would be taking this and hiring someone or, you know, saying, okay, somebody at Cohen Wolf is in 9.4 is gonna be for the RTM. I don't know.
You're gonna come, you don't have to stand. sure.
oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman, that's right. So we are concurrently revising the rules to regulate. And a member of that committee is here. So where there may be any synergies, you do something on the RTM side where, you know, if we're starting to look at how we reconstitute these standing committees, that maybe it's the finance committee that, you know, has some authority. I know we're sort of struggling on the language here, but not the fiduciary, but.
You mean the finance committee within the RTM?
Correct.
And there's also a legal committee in the RTM, is there not?
No.
Well, legislative and.
Legislate, oh, yes.
Well, hey, yeah, but that's really, you know, not, I don't think within this realm. But so if you have, just say the finance committee for the sake of what might make the most sense, has some, you know, is empowered in some way to be the entity within our body that can request money.
Can they?
Hmm?
Can they?
Well, we're saying that would be.
We're just saying-
Oh, you're saying you,
Because we're changing
saying
rules
you-
to regulate right now.
I know, I understand what you're saying.
Is there some synergy with a change in that, in that governing document?
That's an ordinance,
This
so
Governing document.
maybe that's a better way to do it.
Well, it's.
You're talking about the RTM rules to regulate.
Yeah, it's just the process.
Yeah, sorry, yes.
Yeah,
So that's happening at,
Yeah.
again, concurrently with this.
yeah. This, again, I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying. I'm struggling
How do you strike?
if it's charter worthy. Is that the, yeah, if it's applicable in the
Yeah.
charter.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Seems like it's- Sure, I mean, it's organizational, it's, right, like personnel, organizational.
Yeah.
What feels right to me is making it clear that they're allowed to ask for it. But what doesn't feel right is like establishing a budget line item in the charter to pay for it.
See,
We can't do that.
Oh, yeah, no.
I'm with you all the way, right.
We should make sure, like,
completely
yeah, they
agree.
should be allowed to ask for it.
Well, there's a budget line item for outside counsel.
But not for.
Well, not specifically for RTM, but you could use.
There's only two budget line items that are legal, right? It's really for internal, to pay for our town attorney, and then external. And the external attorney could be used for anything, including RTM.
Is the missing piece, the process for RTM to ask to,
I feel like
is that what?
that's the,
That doesn't sound like a charter thing, that sounds
that, we're coming,
sounds like a.
keep coming back to the same thing. The rules to regulate sounds like the right thing. Because if you put something in place to say, your, what was the committee, I'm sorry, Finance Committee, you say, listen, we're now giving the Finance Committee the power to request funds for things such as legal counsel.
Or have a budget that we then have to account for.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a long shot.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Because I can hear the Board of Finance right now, oh, wait a minute, we're gonna let you hire any lawyer you want. I mean, it's, I mean, even in the whole of the town, all the legal functions all go through the legal department.
With 2-year terms, I don't want that I don't want that authority.
Mhm.
That's my personal.
I would,
Body or.
I would agree with you, right?
Would the same thing apply for TPC? Or any board and commission that in theory they could ask for independent legal counsel then under?
I feel like TPC's got a lawyer on speed dial, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of,
Someone's asked.
We did something with the conservation where we did an intervention or whatever they're called with the Aquarian.
monopole. I'm not
No,
monopole, Aquarian,
They were transferring water and all this other stuff and who was the guy in Trumbull that was our,
Yeah, Tim,
Herbst.
and he had
know,
one
I
of
read
his attorneys. He had one of his attorneys help with this intervention or whatever.
How did you like get that paid?
The conservation department wanted to get a seat at the table, so they got signatures and they, isn't that called an
intervener.
intervention?
Yeah.
Oh, the intervener kind of status or whatever,
Yes.
okay, got
And
it.
then we, I've never been on conservation, but I worked with them on this because I'm a rabble rouser.
See, there are plenty of legal functions that happen every day. And to include the a large portion of the fill pile up until we got to the point where we realized we needed an independent counsel. That's just handled by that external function. And every year, the town attorney comes before the Board of Finance and says, I got 20 lawsuits and it could cost the town $1 million and I need an attorney for, that's gonna cost it. So there's a budget process. So that's kind of the way it's handled. Until something gets really big, like I said, the fill pile is a great example. We said, yeah, we need to allocate, we allocated real money toward an independent counsel.
What about, so we agreed that the Ethics Commission should have a lawyer if it needs one. How would
Access to a
that-
lawyer.
That's similar where they don't have a department with them, they're just independent, so how will they get a lawyer?
Gosh, I was wondering the same thing.
It is.
I guess through the legal department, which
What legal department?
They're
town
not
attorney.
associated with HR? That's what HR are.
No, they are, I mean, HR works with them when it's an important thing, but they're not.
There's a legal entity in the budget called legal.
Yeah, well, there's a budget line, but there's no, anyway,
The town attorney, I guess, is really manages that budget.
so it's again, somebody has to give the ethics commission a budget to be able to pay for an attorney, or people have to agree that they can ask for an attorney and it will be paid for. How is that gonna happen? I don't know if we can do that in the charter either.
Well, I don't know if this is the only part, but in the ethics, so 1015B8 says have the power to retain its own counsel, administer oaths, et cetera. So, but it doesn't say how to pay for it. It just says has the power to retain its own counsel.
But that's more than the RTM has, so that's good for them.
Right, but then I guess in the end, like, you have to get the money,
It's gotta be
Yeah.
pro
presumably
bono.
from the external legal fund, right?
Why don't we just add, do we make I'll make a motion to add
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
those 5 words.
Have the power to retain its own
Have the
counsel.
power to retain legal counsel, legal counsel.
10-5, you said?
Under 4.0.
1050, it was 1015B8.
No, but you were saying.
I would add that language into 4.1. Where
No, but you didn't want it under 4, you want it under 9, whatever.
Well,
no, didn't you want it under 4.1? Okay.
4.1 is
Oh,
more
okay.
specific.
Alright.
Yeah.
Just checking. I don't.
But in the end, they still gotta go to the
Yes,
the town lawyer to get the money.
but that's kind
Yeah.
of what I was looking for, is at least give us.
You might have you might give you the permission to buy the new car, but do you have the money to buy the new car is the whole, right? Okay, so I'll make that motion. We'll add whatever those 5 words are to 4.1A and I'll leave the incorporation of the words to our
Okay, I'll second the motion.
any further comment or discussion, sorry? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So that was,
Opposed, McHenry, I'm gonna oppose.
Okay.
There's a nay. Jerry,
Jerry.
I might have pointed out where to put it, but I still don't agree with it.
710.
so that was RTM.
There's 8 of us, yeah.
The other,
No, there's 9.
no, it can't be 9.
Oh, no,
There's
you
only 8.
Chris and
posted Eric twice.
Chris and Eric are, yeah.
Sorry.
the other suggestions were inland waterways or whatever, inland wetlands, I think, and then TPZ, are we just,
I'm unwilling to take up anything other than the RTM, because I think that's the one that has. It literally is the, I mean, I think Commissioner Wackman put it really well. It's the only thing, I don't even know what to call it, body in town that has no budget or no
Yeah.
access to a budget or no process to get.
Conservation has a budget, so
That's exactly right.
and then
Yeah,
does
there's
TPZ have
that.
access?
That's solved,
to,
that
like,
problem is
Talk to the town
done.
attorney and such and get that, what they need, okay.
You're their boss, they can ask for that legal.
Okay, agenda item number 12. What would we like to talk about next time?
Maybe we should do this charter code decision.
right up front, yeah.
Yeah,
Charter code?
I guess it's specific, like, are we saying for boards and commissions or just in general?
I think in general, probably.
But
Maybe boards and.
we kind of already
commissions
had the
are-
discussion that we ideally will keep the charter thinner, not just put much in. It feels like you almost need to go to the specifics, so like, is this in or out? As
Yeah.
opposed to a more general conversation.
Yeah, that's
Well,
probably.
generally, there was somebody who suggested these different references that I've been looking at, and one of the references says, just do what the statute says, that's your charter, don't do anything more. That's as lean as you're gonna get for a charter. Do we wanna be that lean? If not, do we wanna go back and forth and back and forth and back?
One thing we would
Or-
have,
Or put everything, or go and put everything in the, one or the other.
we have to have language in a lot of these that says this applies now, and then if the RTM passes an ordinance to replace it, this will sunset, right? So that would, since
Yeah.
it's not in there already. But you're right, I
Yeah.
think maybe it should just be boards and commissions to focus our.
I mean, from a category perspective, we have boards and commissions, we have positions, we have structural, and we have RTM. Those are the categories. And then there are some instances where we've gotten feedback on categories we already covered that we really have to loop back to at some point.
So if we take up boards and commissions, it would seem to be inclusive of the
The charter code.
charter code.
So yeah, that's a good.
So boards and commissions, I think that's probably enough for one meeting.
What, like probably.
Two meetings?
Yeah.
Okay, boards and commissions, I'll add that to the agenda.
I mean, you can't help but notice in reading this thing, this was. I mean, I don't, different times, whatever, but this was written by. A body that was at least somewhat fearful of its legislative body. I mean, this is a very thorough charter.
This is the original, the charter, the current charter.
Yeah.
More
So
than.
to Mary's point, I mean, like, I personally would rather see a leaner charter and more ordinances. Because I mean, I think you elect the legislative body and you give them lawmaking abilities, the same way we do with our federal government. We don't say to the federal government,
Yeah.
you know, oh, well, if you want that, amend the Constitution.
Right, right.
Say, we entrust you,
Mhm.
we elected you, and we entrust you to enact, you know, the details.
Right.
The bones should definitely be here, but I've read so many charters that, in towns that get along just fine. There shall be a RTM,
Right.
and it shall consist of 57 members.
Yeah.
And then,
The story, right?
and the story, and then there's an ordinance that says, okay, there shall be an ordinance committee, and that ordinance committee shall consist of 6 members, and there shall be a public safety committee, and blah, 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 and goes on and on forever.
Mhm.
And those seem to work fairly well. I mean, those towns do get by, and then, you know.
Cause I think of the charter as like your bylaws, which should be just the bones. Just
Right.
you hang everything off of that
Yeah.
in your ordinance. So we're not doing it that way. We're.
Right.
Goes into excruciating detail, and obviously the downside is the revision. The
Mhm.
revision process is very tedious.
Right.
Chris and I were talking about before the meeting, you know, gosh, I hope this effort is all for something at election day, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah,
The thought that these countless hours may
Yeah.
result in nothing is.
and that's the other thing I just wanted to bring up is just a little bit of a side note, personal note. We have to be a little bit cautious about doing too much, right? We were talking about tonight, I don't know if you saw, but Shelton's referendum on their charter failed for I think it's the 4th or 5th time.
Wow.
And I gotta tell you, the questions were like, one of them was, what is the majority in the Board of Ed? Is it 6-3 or 5-4? And the other thing, it was like really innocuous and it failed. I mean, it wasn't even close, not even close. I think they're dug in so deep, people don't even know what they're, going
Yeah.
on, but,
Mhm.
and again, we need to have that discussion about code versus charter, whatever, but
That's a good point.
the end of the day, and a couple people remind me of this weekly. Don't forget, at the end of the day, you gotta put up a question and then everybody's gotta go yes, right? So. Anyway, okay,
Good point.
thank you. Agenda item 13, public comment. I heard enough from you tonight. There's no one else online, I don't think, so
Judy's in bed.
unless you have any comment, Prue? All right, agenda item 14, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Any second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Very, 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 very productive. Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.